Ja,
Yeah, I got locked up.
Man kann auch diplomatisch
Sure, I'm working on it. Coś właśnie
Like use whatever you want.
Do you need the,
Where we recording was it from?
I think this one's for the streaming,
Yep.
and this one is for the room.
If I do the intro then I'll
This mic, not going to record it, but I'm still looking for a cable for that.
This one. Okay. Excellent.
I'll project, so you put that on.
Okay.
Hey folks, thank you very much for joining the Ansible Contributor Summit. We are live, so hopefully the YouTube stream is working. For those joining the YouTube stream, there's a chat option on the right hand side, and also put a link into the HackMD. For those in the room, it's red.ht/gent2026. It's HackMD, multiplayer notepad, place for sort of make notes and ideas. Today's a discussion, right? We've tried a few different formats for the Contributor Summit before. Last year we had a bit more of a lab. Didn't work that well. We've learned we iterate, right? So hopefully folks have all got lots of ideas after the last couple of days. So yeah, that's the flow. So I'm going to introduce Don, who's going to talk about the community partner engineering team and some of the bits we've got planned for 2026, and go, does this align with what you're thinking? Are we, thinking in the right direction? Where can we work together? So we've got a few different sessions this morning, and then after lunch, we've got a bit of time maybe to hack on stuff, and then we're going to, for those folks in person, we're going to have a bit of a social and a wander around Ghent, which I hope you can join. But please do interrupt at any point. This is for you, not for me. So at this point, I'll pass over to Don. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Hey everybody, I'm Don, and I'm still waking up. Oh, hopefully that was some feedback on the call, on the live stream there. Jimi Hendrix has entered the stream or something. Okay, so can you guys hear me? Is that okay? All right, great. So, hey everyone, I'm Don. I'm with the Ansible Community and Partner Engineering team at Red Hat, and I thought we'd start with just kind of a brief introduction of the team, give you some context about what we do, what we've done over the past year, and as we're here, we're planning for the year ahead, and we'd like to get thoughts, feedbacks, criticisms, welcome, whatever you've got. We want to hear from you to help us define our goals for the year ahead and figure out some priorities for our work. Because we don't want it to be just what we say. So this is our agenda. We're going to start with a quick overview of the team, then go into discussion about the team goals. But I want to be clear that this isn't just like us trying to say this is what we're doing. We want to have a conversation with you, and we want to encourage everyone here to join us and to help. There's plenty of work in the year ahead, and hopefully you'll find some things that interest you and you can get involved with. So the community partner engineering team at Red Hat. We've got, just kind of go through, there's Andre, who's sitting in the back there. Hey, Andre. Anrisha. Oh, hey, more chocolates. Yeah, there we go, thank you. Anrisha, Daniel, who's new to the team. There's myself, Sandra in the US. Gundalo, and then Trey. So together we make up the community partner engineering team. So what would you say you do here? We all love the Bobs, right? So when I joined the team, it was the last standalone Ansible Fest before they combined it with Summit. And I was on this call. It's me and Greg Sutcliffe, right? And there was a video stream, but it was only one way. I was just literally looking into my mic into my webcam. And I could only see Greg, but I knew there was a room of people, but I couldn't see them. So I was just kind of there nodding along, and like I was really, really new, and I didn't know what was going on. But Greg kind of just like passed me the mic with this like, what would you say you do here? And my response to that was just glue work. And it's still that today. I would say it's glue work, which probably sounds like a very abstract thing. But glue work is really about like getting stuff out of the way for people so they can get things done, and empowering people to get things done. And you know, removing roadblocks for better community participation, providing different platforms for where people can get together, and there can be community engagement. Of course, the forum and matrix are obvious examples of that. And providing community tooling like bots, GitHub workflows, and just trying to create infrastructure and processes and things that the community needs to collaborate successfully. So kind of one of my go-tos for, just to kind of give another example of glue work and what that really is. For me, my go-to is the Ducks lift and shift that we did a couple of years ago. So the community wanted to, do some different various docs initiatives like hackathons and, upgrading the Sphinx build and, all these various things that we wanted to do. And the doc site at the time was in the Ansible repo. And we were all pulling in the same direction, but things were just kind of bumping up against each other a little bit. And like maybe, we had run into like kind of a tangle with core CI. So we lifted the doc site into a new repo, Ansible, and just freed things up so people could participate and collab on the docs together and just get things.
Without the core team being a wart on the butt of progress.
Well, okay, well, but hopefully it made things, made life easier for the core team and made life easier for the community, and, like things just stopped like kind of butting up against each other, and people were able to kind of collaborate more effectively. And the result of it has been that we've got like some absolutely fantastic doc CI that like raised the quality of the content and like made life easier for contributors. And it's important because documentation is one of the places where people make their first contribution to Ansible most times. So an example of glue work. So moving on with the Ansible Community Partner Engineering team, we merged teams it was a little over a year ago. It wasn't, I guess, like November 2024 or so. When we came together with community engineering, like I said, we work on things like community infrastructure. There are like aspects of, legal, code of conduct, community release management, and partner engineering. I'll go into a little bit more detail about like the specific things that partner engineering does, but there was this huge overlap where both teams were working on like automating workflows, reviewing collections, and helping them either get approved for the community package or automation hub, working to improve developer experience as well as various different quality improvements. So it just made sense to like merge these two teams together because we were doing a lot of overlapping work, and there were those, synergies there, even though I kind of hate that word because, let's leverage our synergies, you guys. But yeah, so we moved together. So just a really brief overview, because you've probably heard me talking about like Red Hat partners and like what does this mean. So Red Hat partner are just like tech companies, like you see the logos here. So quite a few of them that be writing collections and automation content. So the partner team is there to work with some of the partners. But it's important to stress that even though they're tech companies and we talk about them as like Red Hat partners, they're not really like a special, like, they're not separate from the community. The Red Hat partners are part of the community. You could even think of them as a community within the community. Red Hat partners, the collections are freely available from Galaxy. Many of them include their collections in the Ansible package. They participate in the forum, announce on the bullhorn, and they share the same maintainer experience as the community, including the various pain points. So they're not separate. They're part of the community. So that was another reason to kind of bring our teams together. But with the partners, kind of specifically, there are different types of collections that you can find on Automation Hub. There's, like this one, for example, is the AAP configuration. You can see it's a validated collection on Automation Hub. Of course, it's also on Galaxy. But certified and validated, I guess like certified include like modules and plugins and like, third-party integrations. And validated are roles and playbooks. Actually, validated came about because there were like all these like consultants that had like all these roles and playbooks and everything and like GitLab somewhere. Like, hey, we should, take these and like, turn them into collections. But yeah, I guess validated is just like kind of curated sets of playbooks and roles for specific use cases. So for both community and partners, there are different like benefits of participation in the partner program, but also contributing collections to uploading collections to Galaxy or including in the Ansible package. We'll just go through these kind of really quickly, but with Ansible, it's when you include your collection, say in the community package, you get increased visibility because it's, pip install Ansible, it's included that way. So, it allows you to kind of extend your reach, reduces time to release. A lot of if you're just focused on uploading a collection, developing and maintaining a collection, you don't need to, there are like a lot of good tools there for like rendering documentation and using Galaxy as well. You don't have to worry about like so much about like distribution and things. It's just easier quicker to release. Extending technology adoption. I think a lot of I wish I had got it locked out of my slides because I'm like kind of choking on the speaker's notes. I'm working from memory, and so bear with me here. I'm just going to be honest. Like, it's like 9 in the morning. Yeah. So sorry. I don't want to like ramble on too much. Unlocking integration capabilities. I mean, so say you've got your, you can combine collections in a playbook. So you can like easily like, integrate technology together. Ooh, nice, thank you. Yeah, so I've got the speaker's notes here. Gundola's saving me, thank you. I just have to learn how do I scroll down? That's okay. So let's move on to the goals, because this is the main part of the discussion that we want to have today, and like some of our goals for 2026. So some of the work that we did in 2025, and these are just some of the highlights. It's not meant to be like, you know, completely inclusive, but our team, and I think like Andre did the bulk of the work on the first one, were contributing to the reviews for including collections in the community package. And Wisha from our team did a lot of work on community execution environments and releasing those. Lots of different contributions to improve the Ansible community documentation. I think like some of that is like helping. I know I reviewed some docs PRs from the core team, and different people like, you know, Sloan and B.Coca kind of jumped to mind. We also migrated the docs.ansible.com subdomain over to read the docs hosting, which was kind of a, like, big effort, and it took several years to actually complete that, but we did last year. Also worked with the core team to communicate changes for collection development, most notably like all the changes that came in 2.19. You know, putting those up in the forum and like letting people know that changes were coming and they need to start testing against 2.19 and making some changes for that. Another thing that we actually spent a lot of time on last year was the collection and validation requirements for those Red Hat partners. Our teams combined, and there were actually 2 or 3 people that were on the partner engineering team that left right about the same time that like our teams were brought together. So we inherited all those, the partner engineering team, I suppose, are the gatekeepers of content quality for collections, with the certified and validated collections. So, you know, my team, those of us that were in the community engineering team had to kind of get up to speed with those requirements and review them, and there were some various inconsistencies that would, I guess, be frustrating for some of the for some of the partners, because, you know, you like upload a collection and everything's kind of fine, and then like the next time you upload a new release, you know, that's like, well, you know, we see you're doing this and we're going to reject your collection. And they were like, you know, why would you do this? Like, what's the change, you know? So, you know, working on that to like kind of smooth that out, and also see like where some of the overlap is with the community requirements.
Sorry, did you publish somewhere this partner certification checker workflow? Can I find
Tom, repeat the question.
Yeah.
How did we talk about? I had it, so it's first time version collection is uploaded, everything is good, everything is good. Next time, message from Red Hat, so we can certify your collection.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see this checker before I upload this collection.
Okay, yeah, so the question is, where can you get the partner certification checker workflow? And that's a fair question. And I was going to speak to that, but it's still something like we're experimenting with. So we kind of wanted to like talk about it a little bit today and maybe get some feedback. If you want to come talk to me afterwards, I'd be happy to show you and we can kind of go through it. Felix, did you?
Quick question, is this a manual process or something like reviewed by a human, or is it like an automatic process, or both?
It's a little bit of both.
Okay.
We're trying to automate more, but yeah, it has been largely manual.
Okay. And is it more like a checklist that's checked, or is there like, do you have to like make, look at the actual or like the content of the collection and make some judgment calls and evaluate? I mean, is it like strictly binary decisions, like sticking to some formal things, or is it more? I mean, I have really no idea how this certification process looks like.
Okay, yeah. Well, let's talk about that for a minute, because we're still. So basically, the question, just to repeat. I'm sorry, Felix.
We can also talk about it later if you're.
Oh no, it's cool. Like it's I could talk about that stuff all day long.
Okay.
Yeah. So Felix's question is basically about the certified and validated process. Is it manual? Is it automated? What does it look like? Yeah. So let me talk about like the slides here, and then let's dive into that a little bit more, because I think these, I think the last 3 bullets kind of relate to that. So yeah, the Red Hat partners, they're like onboarding workflows, trying to get them into, to understand the requirements and what they need to do to actually get either a collection either certified or validated. And there's the whole like, you know, first they have to sign some kind of like, I don't know, like legal agreement and all of that, and then go through it. So we're trying to, you know, we've been trying to like make that easier, and also like, I think make it I think you commented about there's like a PDF
Yes.
that we've had. That,
Once on formal stuff, but that was mostly on formal stuff, I think. Like you said, like signing up with these things, signing up with that things, getting this document signed, getting that document signed.
yeah. Yeah, but a lot of those have been, I think, less than optimal, and also largely manual. And I think the way the workflows, yeah, the partner certification checker workflow is one that like Andre and I have been like kind of hacking on a little bit, and it's still like sort of an experimental phase because we want to see like how useful it would be, but we also want to, we have other plans we'll get into in the slide thing, and then yeah. Okay, so let's just talk about the certification workflows. So a lot of that is manual review in a similar way to the community inclusion checklist, where you just have like, you know, the various checklists that you go through. So like a collection lens and say like the staging area and automation hub. So you can see there are like Galaxy importer runs that go through and, you know, do like Ansible sanity test. There's, you know, a lint test. And a few other ones. So kind of checking the logs for that, you know, checking out the license, making sure it has like an OSI compatible license, and then, you know, looking through the documentation. There's certain things that, you know, should be in there. Like I actually rejected a collection not so long ago because some of their module documentation was pointing to Galaxy, which didn't really make sense. It should have pointed to their GitHub repo. So I rejected for that. So, but there's a lot of like, also just kind of like, going through and looking at the collection tarball and unpacking that and like just investigating. We found that like in some cases there were a couple of collections that had an Ansible lint configuration, you know, the .ansible lint, the hidden file, and there would be like certain rules that were in the skip list that shouldn't be. So finding things like that
So it can be partially automated, but some things probably cannot really be automated because they're, I mean, it requires a human to look at things. Or maybe with AI, it gets, well, better but different.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
yeah, there needs to be,
stuff like that.
but yeah, even with AI, there needs to be a human in the loop, I think, to kind of check, you know. But we are working on like, yeah, automating where we can. Hey.
When you find stuff that needs to be changed for the certified collection, will that also be done on the community and then certified, or will the certified collection version then differ from the community version?
Good question. So let me repeat that. So when a change is made to a certified collection, does that happen in like kind of a downstream fashion, or do those changes go upstream so they're available to the community? And it's always we go upstream first, and then, you know, that's the workflow, upstream to downstream. So community benefits from the collection and inclusion reviews too in that way, because we'll change. Oftentimes, like my team and I will, it's usually kind of more straightforward if there are fixes that you can, you know, just submit a pull request. I think like one of the, yeah, Felix?
Sorry, another follow-up question about that one. Does it mean that basically every time they submit something for certification, they have to do a new release? So there might be like 5 community releases until it finally gets certified, and that one is the official final release, or how does this work?
It could work like that, yeah. They need to do a release, and you know there has to be like, and one of the requirements is that there has to be like a changelog fragment for the release, that you know for the version that they're certifying or whatever. But I guess in some cases, yeah, they might do like 2 or 3 community releases, and then the last one would contain the.
I wonder if it's possible to streamline the process more. That I mean, I think for the collections, it's also annoying that they have to do releases several times. I mean, this also caused problems because some collections didn't add tags to the releases until it was finally certified, and then we got a problem with the Ansible package building.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah, I've seen that one that has come up a few times. I actually took a note of that one, so when we see that one come in, I think like in that case, that's something we can add to the certification checklist, that it must be tagged. So, you know, I think the good news, and those are the things we want to hear, right?
Yeah.
Like, how are those things, like, how are we, like, how, I don't want to say like causing problems, but how is that like, you know, friction, thank you. With the community, and how can we fix that? And I think in that case, we just require that there must be a tagged version that corresponds, as well as, you know, the changelog fragment. So, but I know the collection you're talking about, and
I'm not sure if there are also others, but I mean, for some of them it might just be annoying that they have to do releases to get it checked. But I'm also not sure how to change the process, because if you don't require releases and just look at the Git repo, doesn't mean the release is actually good. They do, because yeah, release processes can do strange things, and especially if they do it manually on their machine, they might accidentally include other files that shouldn't be there.
Yeah, and
things like that.
Yeah, and hopefully not too many people are, like we're trying to, you know, we're not trying to, we are recommending that they follow, you know, like use GitHub workflows, so they tag the release, and then that triggers the workflows to upload to Galaxy and then Automation Hub. And that is the recommended path, but, you know, we can't force partners to, you know, we can't force anyone to do that. Although maybe we could, you know, like I say, have that requirement, but yeah. Are there any more questions on these slides, or shall we move on? Okay, I'll take silences. Let's move on. So we do have a HackMD. So this is the part where we want to get some audience participation, and we'd like to hear from you. So we do have 2 HackMDs. We've got this one, red.hat, Ansible Contributor Summit. You're also welcome to use GIMP 2026 if you're already in there. But one of our high-level goals for the year ahead, and this is community as well as, you know, the community team and partner engineering team, the 2 things combined. Like I said, we are kind of the gatekeepers for the certified and validated collections, and we help with the community through the inclusion reviews. So one of our goals for the team is to make sure that I guess quality doesn't degrade, but also that quality increases. And I think there's a lot that you know, can be done with like collection testing, but we want to hear from you guys. So what ideas might you have? What things what might be the pain points? How could we work to remove any sort of, like, are there any roadblocks you can think of that might be in the way of content quality?
So just, we'll use GAN 2026, we'll move everything over there.
Okay, yeah, so let's use Get 2026, please. So do we want to take like 5-10 minutes and just kind of hack on this a little bit?
Yeah.
Was everybody kind of Everybody there's a lot of faces that kind of look like how I feel right now, so I don't blame you if you're kind of worn out from conferencing. Yeah, Daniel?
Yeah, so a pain point I've had recently is that there was an issue with Zoll and the build process for the bezel collection, and I've been struggling to find somebody who can help me with that.
Is that with Zool?
With Zoll, yeah. There was like a build failure, and maybe it was like a transient one, but I haven't been able to find anyone who can help me like retry the build. And so at the moment, there's a release missing from Galaxy. So anyone who wants to use the latest version will have to basically install from Git rather than use Galaxy.
You need the tag on GitHub and push it again, and then it will re-trigger the...
Oh, okay, so I can delete the training.
Yeah, and it happens a lot, and I also have no clue when to contact.
Okay.
Just like waiting and reading mostly.
Well, I'll make a note of that then. We can figure out who should be the point of contact for that and help us with that. Okay.
Yeah, so so the discussion now was we use Zool CI, which is an open source tool, as you'd expect. For the collections in the GitHub Ansible collections org, we use Zool. It's got our secret pass credentials to publish to Galaxy.
Yeah, here you go.
Yeah, so we use Zool to publish to Galaxy. I've now realised we have no documentation on how to do that, and that feels like something we can probably fix quite easily. So thanks for your idea on there. Who else, just to show of hands, who else is a maintainer of an Ansible collection? About 15 or so. Cool. What other pain points do you have with it? What just annoys you? Like, what? Some hands up in the middle. Anyone got any? Maybe everything's working perfectly, and then I will go home and be happy. But Matt?
I've got one that comes up that came up recently that I'm not sure. I guess it's squarely in the. I think most of you already know about it, maybe, but the Ansible requires being kind of co-opted for metadata about certification versus what the collection actually supports. That's been a problem because there are a number of collection maintainers that have things that will support a much wider range of Ansible core versions than what the certification guidelines require. And the certification guidelines at some point actually changed that says, I think that to be continuing to certify, you can't support a certain outside of a certain range. And so co-opting the runtime metadata, which is what that was designed for, this is the one in the collection meta, for that, is a problem because for people, people shouldn't be having to artificially restrict the runtime usage just to it's like, what does the certification care if they can run on another one? If the certification needs its own place to store that in the collection metadata, we should talk about that. But,
And Ansible Lint has a rule which basically screams at you if you support something which isn't there, which is, in my opinion, a total stupid rule and should be removed.
Yeah, so the discussion there, just for live stream, was around this. I think it's in the collections meta runtime.yaml.
yeah.
There's a maybe optional, it might be required now.
Requires Ansible.
Requires Ansible, and it will take like a pin range. That was initially added into Ansible core to give a runtime warning, I think, rather than error to say, hey, you're trying to use a collection that doesn't support this version of Ansible.
And it's now recently also been supported by Galaxy Download, I think, so you can actually download one that will try to find one that fits your
yeah, and then that metadata is added into Galaxy YAML. Matt said it's been.
I've been waiting for that for years.
I think it's 221.
And what's happened is it's basically been abused to force in to say this collection is capital S supported by these versions, and yeah, we've ended up mixing up business policy decisions with technical API contracts, and unsurprisingly, it's a whole heap of pain.
And especially for an upstream, for something that's upstream, so feels like
there's especially a bad thing about this because there's still Ansible Core 2.16, which is needed to administer some still supported RHEL versions, for example, and also others. And basically these new collection or certified collection releases are required to not support 2.16, which is, even though they maybe could do that, and that's also pretty annoying, I think. I mean, it doesn't affect me because I don't use 2.16 anymore, but I think it's annoying to many users who have to use 2.16 to actually be able to work with their machines.
Yeah, has anyone else in the audience had like issues with this? Are you familiar with the paper we're talking about?
Yeah,
It's on the consuming end of it.
Yeah, so we still have a lot of, so we are providing a platform for many of our customers on our company, and we still have a lot that are connecting to RHEL 8 and having no issues, because on the one hand they need to use the new core systems, but the core versions, but the collections are not supporting them anymore. But I hope the good news is, at least with the latest committed to 2.21, that there will be hopefully a RHEL 8 support again. But Matt, I hope.
Moving in that direction, yep.
Cool. There's a lot of folks in the back I've not heard from. Yeah, so, yeah.
What is the current state regarding the generation of collections with Open API spec? Because there is like the contained content builder, and the code should be moved to the Ansible Creator utility, but this hasn't seen any maintainment in the last 2-3 years or so. So
Dev tools,
just
yeah.
not very. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, sorry, so you said you were the Ansible creator?
The content builder has some parts to generate collections from an open API spec.
Okay, so
And
the
code is quite old, and I think it should be moved to the content creator, or there's like a PR that it should be moved there, but there hasn't been really work on it for the last few years.
Okay, yeah, so it seems like we've got a few different ways of scaffolding collections, and there's one bit of tool that will take an API spec and generate, or like at least scaffold the new collections, but it doesn't seem like that's had any, that tool might be deprecated, and you're thinking we should maybe go in the Ansible Creator tool. Dev tools here at the moment? No, later on we'll have someone from the dev tools, but that's a really good question. I'm not familiar with that, unless Daniel, I don't know if you've looked at it.
No, I haven't looked at that specific collection, but yeah, I was just taking a look. It hasn't had any commits in 10 months. This is the last commit.
This is creator, or
This says a collection, Ansible Content Builder. So the question, the suggestion was to move that to the Ansible Creator utility instead, maybe.
Yeah. Has anyone ever used that tool? 2, 3? Okay, 3 folks have used it, so yeah, maybe if we move it into there we can get a bit more love and get it maintained a bit more. Cool. What other pain points do folks have?
One thing I was thinking about was, right now there's quite a few repos where there's like GitHub action workflows that are in different repos. So there's like some release workflows that are in the DevTools repository, and then there's some release workflows, GitHub actions that are in the Ansible Content Actions repository. So would it make sense maybe to like try and consolidate it so everyone can just go to one, so like community and partners can go to one repository to get like the reusable workflows instead of them being a little bit scattered across different ones?
Yeah, so the question was, there seems to be lots of different GitHub workflows, like even under the Ansible and Ansible collections and Ansible community org. Why are there so many different ones? Why are they all doing slightly different things? Yeah, I don't know. We've had a bit of a look at some of them last year, and there's some slightly different bits of functionality in one versus the other, but they're all trying to do a similar thing, and personally I think it's really annoying. I think if you're starting off trying to do some Ansible development and you go, well, how should I do these things? Not only are these things not documented, but there's like 5 or 7 competing ways forward, right? So maybe we create an 8th, you know, following the XKD idea of standards, we create an 8th that's unified, and we fail and we then create the 9th and 10th, and that's maybe why we're here. But yeah, I'd love for that stuff actually to maybe end up in the community, maintained. For those of you around last couple of days, like there was a talk on Ansible Knox, like maybe that's actually the opinionated way that we do the testing, and then we have a wraparound, an easy wraparound that using a GitHub action. And looking towards the back of the room for any other feedback or thoughts on this stuff. You know, if you've got any pains in maintaining your collections, releasing them, testing them, developing them, or using them, right? Like the things that you found when you're using the collections that you think, I wish the maintainer had done this. Not individual bug fixes, but maybe something wider. Yeah.
I've got one suggestion. I'm not sure if it's on anyone's radar yet, but one of the things that is interesting to me is that the Ansible Galaxy client, even when you feed it a requirements file, is not able to figure out what collections you have that actually need updating. So when you say I need to install my collections, it always downloads everything, even if you have like a gazillion, which takes a lot of time, it wastes a lot of data. I think it could be more efficient, but I'm not sure if this. I think this has been requested a few times on the forum as well in the past.
Okay. So the question was, if you have using Ansible Galaxy with a requirements start.
Yes.
Requirements file and it's got a list of collection, Ansible Galaxy will always go and download every single one of those collections and probably walk into the dependencies as well. It sounds like it's maybe downloading the full tarball rather than just looking at the metadata.
And this is specifically, you didn't ask it to update everything. This is just like, just make sure that my requirements are
Yeah,
met.
so the behavior is one of two.
related.
So you can have Ansible Galaxy message requirements file, and then it will say, I have already got these ones. Or you can add --force, and then it will download everything. But there's no --update, for example. So you cannot have it selectively download the things that need updating. It's either nothing or everything. Or, well, missing and everything.
Yeah. And I can't, like off the top of my head, it's been a while since I looked at that stuff. I can't remember how much of that would be like the depth solver versus the, you know, like if we can, if there's an easy way to get kind of the middle of the road behavior for an update.
I mean, at this
but
point,
even you're, so like even if nothing, like if you didn't ask for update, if it's just like, just make sure these are there, it doesn't download anything in that case, right? Okay, it's purely if you ask for an update.
yeah, so basically what I want to do is now I run my jobs daily, and now I daily run Ansible Galaxy update force to download and ensure I have the newest collections and the newest whatever I need. And I would like, well, I think it would also help with the load on Galaxy itself, if not everything was downloaded every day.
Yes. Is there an issue open for that? Because it does seem like that seems like a bug. Like, there's some complexities with the depth solver, but I think that one is not one of them. Like it should be. So yeah, open an issue
I'll
for
remember
that.
to write
like,
a forum
just
post on this, and I'll tag you.
yeah. Yeah. Just do it. Yeah. Just
Oh,
open,
yeah.
Just
Oh,
open
yeah,
a
that
core
too.
issue.
Yeah.
Just open a core issue on Galaxy.
Sure.
That seems like an oversight. Yeah.
Yeah, so the action there was we'll get a bug raised and then we'll do an investigation. We think we should have the metadata we need to be able to resolve the dependencies. Do you want to go on to the next one?
So, yeah. Don't walk away.
Yes. Cool, so that was a great discussion. So next topic.
Yeah, maybe another topic. There's still the GitHub Ansible Galaxy repository for the old Galaxy thing.
So yeah.
And it's not archived, and people are still creating issues there also for the Ansible Galaxy CLI command or for other things, namespace requests, whatever. And I don't think anyone is still looking at that.
So the Felix quite rightly pointed out that we still have GitHub Ansible Galaxy repository open. There's no code changes going there. That is not the source. Even though naming things are difficult, even though that is the source directory called Galaxy is not the Galaxy source code. The only thing that's still using that is the namespace requests. It's on my personal list, which is why it hasn't been done yet, to move the namespace requests into the forum, because we can have a discussion. and then we'll get all that archived out.
I can go mark the thing, archive it right now.
I mean, I can do that, but I need to move the issue templates around. Daniel, I think you're making notes. Can you just make a note to make sure at least the README in there is in Ansible Galaxy repo is?
I can take the task.
Yeah, it's clear. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Do you want to introduce?
Okay, cool. Yeah. So another one that my team and I really want to work on in the next year is improving content discovery and user adoption, because, you know, as I tried to point out about the benefits of participation, getting user adoption and having people find your content, kind of important, right? Would you agree?
Yep.
And right now, I think finding content on Galaxy in particular is really difficult. You know, you've got the tags you can filter by, but it's hard to, you know, there's not really any search. So one of the things we've been thinking about to improve this is actually using, now that we've got like all the, you know, docs.ansible.com is over on Read the Docs, is creating a new project somewhere and a doc site in there that could act as kind of an overlay on Galaxy, where we, you know, my idea basically has been that, you know, like on the Kubernetes, like, you know, on the operator hub, there are the different levels for operators, and the first one is just basically like, you know, spins up a cluster and then goes all the way to like maybe level 5. But having some indicators of content quality, like are they updated, you know, we could talk about like, you know, weather criteria, but having those kind of like indicators that, you know, these collections aren't just, you know, this one's regularly maintained and it's updated, so, you know, you can trust it and it's going to work, but also being able to filter and sort collections by different use cases. I know with like Community General, I actually went through and tried to like organize everything by the different use cases, because, you know, Felix, I was interested in, like, and I still am, and actually, well, but, you know, taking Community General from kind of like a monolithic dumping ground into different collections based on like, you know, more use cases. So it'd be great to hear from other folks out there. Does anyone have any ideas on like how could you envision, or do you have any examples of other technologies that like, oh hey, you know, the way they make this content, or, you know, whatever discoverable would be nice if we had that for Ansible collections, or how could we improve user adoption to make collections maybe more apparent by use case, or...
And just to sort of set context, I'm quite happy for the answer to be Galaxy's done its thing, let's throw it away and start again from scratch from a user interface point of view. Like, I think that is totally in game, and I can see a few people smiling, so maybe that's resonating with you.
It's an idea. Add a chatbot. Add
Yeah.
a chatbot, type use case, and find for all collection descriptions.
Yeah, I think search-based stuff I think could really help. Like, yeah.
It's just a search from
Yeah.
Galaxy that doesn't really work well.
Yeah.
What I think could also help with the Galaxy content itself, if I'm not sure if it's, I think it's also in the list of results when it was last updated. Because sometimes I search for stuff. Yeah, but I would like to. I would not like to use a role that hasn't been touched in 8 years.
Yeah.
Even especially if there's results lower than that are more recent.
But I'm not sure that update time is always quality.
Yeah, it should be. I upload my
Something, so you know, if something's stable and it works, and the technology didn't change for 10 years, there are such technologies that
well.
don't change.
The thing is that if it hasn't been imported to Galaxy for 8 years, that also means it has not been linted for 8 years. So any new changes in Ansible or whatever, it's not checked, so you don't know.
So, but maybe we should translate it not in into the years, but support of the newest Ansible core versions.
That, yeah, last tested with or last
Yeah.
minted with. That would make it even better.
Yeah. Did you get that? Yeah.
Yeah, I do that too.
I know that. Only we trust someone else.
That's fair enough.
Also maybe CI, that indicator on the search page that, for example, you could see right there if it's, let's say, red or green.
Oh, like the badges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you need to open, I guess, the page.
Yeah.
At the moment, if you have the badges in the README file, it will render it, but you have to
Yes.
do like documentation tab on the collection. But obviously, every collection has the like badge in the README, so yeah, you're right. You have to go to the repo to check if there's been a recent CI run.
Also, it could be that the workflow hasn't been running for like 10 years, but the last run it was green.
Yeah.
It still looks like green, but it's still
Yeah.
not really telling anything.
Yeah.
Because from what I remember, the importer on Galaxy itself also does the linting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe if that information could be exposed in the search results, that would be helpful.
But also, if you expose this, open this information about linting, everyone sees the errors in the collection. Everything is good. I can make my decision. I go.
I'm not very sure if it's run on Galaxy. Those internal checks that we have in the automation hub.
So I think it is run as far as I remember. Maybe not so strict as, for example, in certification program.
So you can see that.
Yes,
the log.
I see some.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to somehow expose it. And maybe instead of CI, to have that batch instead.
I don't know if it's possible, but some static security scan. So something what Docker Hub does or QA does.
Hmm.
You just check. You just check and it doesn't run linting on Galaxy, so maybe it's a good idea to enable it.
It's running linking on Galaxy and it's running
Running?
even sanity checks. Yeah, I see I have a namespace access, so there is import log for the last check for the last upload of the collection, and it runs Ansible doc, Galaxy importer, sanity I think.
Does it run Ansible lint though? Because in my import log it doesn't run an Ansible lint. The one
No, I don't think so. I'm not sure if lint is part of Galaxy importer, but it definitely runs sanity checks.
So it feels like you folks would like more information, so then you can. So it seems like there's a few bits to it, right? There's maybe some filtering options to search. So by last updated, and maybe we have some date range, and maybe a CI status, or works with Ansible version or last run. It seems like there's some bits there. But then the other bit I'm hearing is that you'd like some more information, probably directly in the Galaxy webpage, so you can make an informed decision. So maybe one thing we can do is, rather than requiring every README to add the little badge, the little green CI shield, maybe we can just add some. We can also calculate that and run it and display it at runtime. And also put in the last updated text, and how to have an auto-generated bit. But then the collection maintainers don't need to go through that work. And then links to the import log, which I'm guessing at the moment only the collection maintainer can see. I didn't realise that because I've got the picture of this. But that seems like something that we can easily add. The folks think that would be, some of those things would be useful. Show of hands. Are we just saying yes because we've thrown some ideas around, or do you think it'd generally be useful?
No, I think because, as you mentioned, when I look around on Galaxy, so if I want to roll for something and I don't intend to write it myself, I oftentimes have to check multiple roles to see if they have been touched in the last, I don't know how many years.
Yeah, I think it's fair feedback. So yeah.
I think for like day zero, this information is good to just have it, but then you can also use this to do some kind of scoring in the search. So the more you have of this, the higher the search result will be.
I'm not expecting anyone to read my handwriting. That's dyslexic British English for those that aren't familiar, but it will just make sure I've captured all the notes. Yeah, scoring's interesting. So in the previous version of Galaxy, I think we had.
Do you want to take the?
Yeah. We had in the previous version of Galaxy, we had the ability to give some star ratings. I think it was on usability, documentation, and maybe something else. I didn't see the statistics, but my gut says that people didn't rate the content, and that's fine. I'm not blaming anyone. I've never taken the time to complete a survey after using a bit of Galaxy content. I'm trying to use Galaxy, and then I'm trying to solve my next problem. I'd love to know what people think would be a easier way for you to give feedback, because we can auto-generate a load of scores, right? And that's good, right? But does this stuff actually work for you? How can we get that feedback? Yeah.
And maybe also add a sort by download.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if download is really valuable metric, because there are some
We talked about this yesterday, yeah.
Some people are quoting the well, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
I downloaded 50,000 times just because they are part of one CSCD that gets run.
Yeah.
I can imagine, I do this, I download all of my collections every day because I cannot update them. So it's a massively inflated and ballooned number. It's working.
If you have it,
Even
then
more, if you have it,
If you have it,
it's
it's popular.
like that.
Well, and I also have like 7 customer environments that do that. So I can generate at least 70 downloads a day. So.
Yeah, if people want to join me after, because Greg Sutcliffe, I don't think's in here, I could do a whole rant for like many hours about vanity metrics, which are things like GitHub stars, download stats. I mean, I'll tell you now, it's community general. That is the highest downloaded thing every day of every second, every nanosecond of a day, right? So what about how can we make it easier for you to actually rate content to provide human feedback back into the system? Is the yeah.
I feel like a simple star, like GitHub stars, would be helpful, not only to indicate how people actually consciously like the collection, but it also could surface what your favorite collections are on Ansible Galaxy's homepage, so you can see the updates.
Yeah, so the idea there was maybe actually it's a simple star, so I like this thing or I don't. You mentioned GitHub stars, which now makes me think, well, since we moved to collections, all of these things are individual repos, so maybe we could just expose the GitHub stars and have I don't know how GitHub works, but have a click through so you can put the star in. And now, and I don't mean this in a passive aggressive way, but do you think folks would you make the time to go and tick a box to give something to a star? Because I know, like I said, I know I never did. I think I did once to make sure the interface worked, and then I never touched it again. And this is part of my day job, so.
No, but you would start a record, so if that inspect and get the same result.
Okay.
Yeah, you have multiple sources then. Galaxy can be a source of stars, but GitHub is also a source of stars.
And you could let some
Yeah, there's a problem that repositories could be anywhere, even on private repositories, and there might not be stars at where they are hosted. So.
Yeah, I mean, for the vast majority of the collections, they're in GitHub.
Maybe you're automatically excluding everyone that is on.
I mean, we can't solve everything for every single user. No, I think it's a good discussion, right? But like, we can't. If we made this better for 80% of things, then that's a massive improvement over where we are today.
I think it should be like within Galaxy or whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Be based on external metrics.
Yeah.
I was thinking, like, there is a download count. Why there is no count for how many people click doc site, website, issue tracker, repo?
Yes,
And
that is much better metric.
Is that
Click-through rate.
yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing, like, Community Galaxy probably has thousands of modules, and many collections has many modules and roles. And if someone is using something, like 5 roles out of community general, I don't think people, me personally, I would not like make judgment of the whole collection of thousands of elements by 5 I'm using. So maybe if it's possible to add stars for individual elements like roles or modules inside the collection, and somehow aggregate for the whole collection, because it's really hard to judge. Like who is using the whole community
Yeah.
general?
Nobody.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I hope nobody's using every single module in there because there's a couple of things I
like
wrote.
people, I'm using 5 of those. Like, how can I judge the whole collection of 1,000 based on 5?
But is that a general issue or just a community general?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't try and sort. You're going to end up using community general anyway, right? I mean, but I think actually looking at the documentation stats, because you know one of the advantages since we've moved to read the docs is we can get access to that, so we can probably
like here, right here, like number of clicks.
yeah. So we can get access to the stats, and maybe we can look at number of unique viewers. You know, we'll kind of, it won't be live data, right? We'll update it once a day, once a week, or whatever. But I think that's a good idea. And then when you were talking about that made me think for the repository, what you actually care about, is this stable? Is someone responsive? So maybe one of the things is, well, what's the number of GitHub contributors? If it's 1,
Number of changes in the like.
yeah, maybe there's a set of metrics we sort of pulled together.
100 commits in a year or 100 commits in 10 years. It's a bit different.
Yeah.
Also, there's that something like a number of open bugs would be something. Because obviously the collection has 50 open bugs, would be not the best one. The only issue though is that you would be relying on the external data from GitHub, which means that if you want to support GitHub, and something else, then you have to interface yourself with multiple API sets.
Okay.
But GitHub is a good start anyway.
Yeah. So it feels like there's definitely some different heuristics and scores we could put in, and I think this is something to definitely. I think we'll start a polling code on this. Do you want to talk a bit more about? Well, that's going a bit more about the ideas for the docs interface and sort of get some ideas on that, or what are we doing on time?
I think we're running a bit
Yep.
low on time. But I did want to talk about this next one. Do you just want to take it since you've got the mic?
Yeah, what do you want me to say?
Like 3 minutes.
No, we've got till 50:30.
Oh, okay, great. I guess I was looking at the first one.
Oh yeah. Oh no, sorry, that's English time. What was the topic on this?
Reducing maintainer burden.
Okay, so we've got loads of great. Do you want to just take that and I'll hold this?
We can probably leave the one for camera on the table, which is
Yeah.
sensitive enough. And we did.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, cool. Howdy. Okay. Okay, so a huge one for us that we want to really tackle. Our next high-level goal is reducing maintainer burden. I know, like, one of the things, like Felix, we talked last year about the role org stack and how that doesn't get rendered on Galaxy unless you do. Were you just like, yeah?
Yeah, someone brought that up to me as well. I can't remember who it was now, so apologies. But yeah, someone yesterday I think mentioned this.
Yeah, it's a huge pain point. So,
It was you, right?
Carol, was it you?
Yeah, there's a lot of things which are rendered and not rendered on Galaxy, which like rendered which shouldn't be there, and not rendered that should be there from my point of view.
Yeah. And that's one of the examples of maintainer burden that we would like to try and reduce. I mean, we have talked about, like, you know, again, going back to this idea of using like a doc site.
I was going to say, do you want to just go for the hot take or throw away what we've got and move to
Yeah, let's
the
go
good
for the
tool
hot take.
to the docs?
We should talk
Okay.
about it.
Yeah, we should talk about it. It's
Yeah.
just like getting rid of like some.
Even just talk about what we talked about yesterday, like, just say that.
Just about getting rid of like some of the Galaxy stuff altogether and just like having a doc site where we, you know, is basically an overlay for Galaxy and where, you know, documentation is rendered and you have like the you know, the link to download collections, and Galaxy, I guess, is under the hood, but that becomes the main entry point where you find collections and, you know, download them, and, you know, it would just be a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess just to set a bit of context, so there's sort of 3 places where you'll see the documentation. So if the collection is in the Ansible package, you'll see docs.ansible.com/Ansible version, and you get a nice render tree. You can see, click through collection by collection, you can see all the modules and plugin and different plugins, so callbacks, module, all those bits in one place. Can't remember what we do for roles in there, but because that's all community driven and because of a load of amazing work by Felix and some of the other folks, it's really good tooling. And then you've got what's on Galaxy, which might render some stuff or might not. See a few people sort of recognizing that. One of the controversial things that Don and I have talked about is let's just get rid of all that docs rendering from Galaxy and get it all into the main upstream docs place, because we then have one set of tooling to maintain.
In this case, where to find documentation for the collection which just like people creating for themselves?
Yeah, so I think technically what we'll do is when your collection gets uploaded to Galaxy, we'll run through Galaxy Importer, then we'll do a one-time build of that docs and then put it on one of the other doc sites or a different subdomain or something.
It actually exports JSON document, the documentation with JSON with Ansible doc, and then uses that JSON to render the actual documentation every time you access it.
Yeah.
So, on this topic of maintaining burden, there was a talk on the first day about like Ansible Docsmith for like role documentation, which was using like the argument spec to auto-generate. That would be nice if there was, so that's a community tool, it would be nice, and there's like, as far as I know, there's like 3 different tools like that at the moment.
For the roles alone?
Sorry?
Only for the roles?
Yeah, only for the roles.
Yes or no?
It would maybe be nice to like have something that could generate like the collection documentation as well, like the collection readme as well, something like that. Also, some collections that I've maintained in the past, there's been like multiple roles in that collection that all like have like say 6 variables that are common to like all of those roles. Sort of like global collection variables, if you think of it like that. It'd be nice to like be able to document those, maybe like an equivalent argument spec, maybe for a collection, or maybe instead of duplicating those every single time in the argument spec for each role, but just something else.
So basically doc fragments for the roles. Because doc fragments for modules and plugins work very good. But for roles there is nothing.
Same for return values of plugins and modules. That's now, has it actually been captioned for?
For which?
Return doc fragments or return values? It was like implemented last for 220, I think, but then it wasn't clear whether it would stay or not.
I don't know. That's a Brian question.
Because if you use it, you cannot show the documentation any older version of Ansible with Ansible doc.
Yeah.
And then there was a discussion of ripping it out completely, but I don't know what the result was.
I don't remember where. I think I was just kind of like, oh la la, like I don't remember where that one landed.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of discussion there about like where does the functionality live in bits, and one of the things I really want to see from this is that if we're going to use the upstream tools that we've got, we can then put all the effort into that and work out which of the 3 role documentation system tooling we want to use, get all that stuff integrated, then we can just get rid of a load of stuff. Like the aim of this is that I think we can give you a more consistent experience. We don't get people wanting to put their package into the Ansible community, their collection into Ansible community package just because they want it on docs.ansible.com, which I'd want to do. It's a nice site, and we end up with a lot better experience for everyone. And then as we get everything in there, if we want to do the analytics to say, well, how many unique visitors have seen this collection of one role visitors that are more popular than the other. Well, we've all got everything in, sorry, everything's in one system, so we can pull that. Who's worked on any of the docs tooling or contributed any docs fixes to Ansible? Show of hands. Okay. Would anyone else be interested in a bit of a Skunkworks project? Well, maybe not Skunkworks, but helping out with some of this stuff, like at least helping us sort of develop the spec, and we'll do some sort of prototyping. Cool, I see a few nods in the audience here. Because this is the bit, right, like, my requirements are different to your requirements. So, like, if we can sort of do, you know, some wireframes and sort of discuss what this can look like, and this is the whole point of having the forum, we can then sort of tease out the specs and work out. I've already spoken with the Galaxy team, and they are quite happy to delete a whole chunk of code, and then, because we've got better code, as I know it's been recorded. Unsurprisingly, our community code in a lot of places is better than some of the Red Hat stuff, because this is an area that we're continually working on.
And the requirements are different.
Yeah,
that's exactly like when you mentioned that's why I said, like, we should talk about this, because it's exactly the same kind of solution that you came up with the Ansible Knox. You know, it's just kind of like, we're not replacing anything, just like, you know, paper over the gaps and, like, you know, try to use what's good and bypass, or, you know, work around or add to for the things that, you know, are different requirements that the community has than what product or core or whoever else has. You know, use what works and replace what doesn't.
Got 10 minutes.
Okay, yeah, 10 minutes. Any other thoughts around maintainer burden before we move on? Are there any, like, pain points that anyone wants to bring up? Or, I don't know, since we started talking about this, maybe some things have come to mind other than doc rendering issues with Galaxy. Anything not particularly working well for maintainers that you want to highlight? If not, then another one of our goals as a team with the community, for the community partner engineering team, is to act as open source champions, both outside of Red Hat, but within Red Hat as well. One of the things we've done is there's been a lot of hiring and onboarding internally for the Ansible engineering team. And one of the things we've heard through, like, Red Hat associate surveys is that people want to know more about, you know, how should we be doing open source? Like, how do we get involved? So, like, Noel and I have worked on a series of, like, training sessions for Ansible engineering. We've been doing that stuff internally. But, you know, I think this is an important topic. I'm hoping more people have thoughts here. One of the things that I can say that I think we need to be doing better, that kind of, like, falls within this, is communication with the community. I know, Felix, maybe you've raised this as sort of a pain point before, particularly around some of the AWS modernization. It just seemed like there was a bit of silence there. There are reasons for that, but, you know, that's you know, not trying to excuse it, because we, you know, I feel like we should have done better, and I voiced that in the forum. But this will be interesting. I kind of want to turn this over and not babble too much. What do you guys think? What do you think, like, being an open source champion might entail, and what would you like to see us kind of getting involved with? What thoughts do you have?
Yeah, and partly this is about how can me and my team better support you, right?
Yeah.
Is the training, mentoring? Do you want a private place? Because although we all operate as a nice, quiet community, and, you know, a well-behaved community, like, I know it's a bit daunting. We're in a big room. I'm really, really thankful for those that have spoken, especially for the folks that I've not had a chance to talk to before. But, like, you know, do you want a quiet place? Do you want, like, monthly video chat, or a place to hang out, or office hours with a select few? Like, I'm open to any of that stuff. So, yeah, what can we do to help you?
I think well, it's not necessary to help us, but I think for the whole perception thing, just tell us when it's not going well. For example, the whole Galaxy thing, it breaks. Stuff breaks. We all know it. We are all system engineers. We all have stuff that breaks for no apparent reason. Yeah. But I think the biggest issue is that if it breaks, that it happens. That's a fact of life. But just tell us. we're working on it. We expect to fix it by maybe Monday, or I don't know. We need to call someone who's on vacation. Okay, just say it.
Yeah, and in what form and structure do you think we've
Well,
done?
for example, let's say there's two big things. The Galaxy thing was recent, so that's everybody knows because everybody mentioned noticed it. Just tell us, hey, we're working on it. We expect it to be fixed by then. And well, because we're all nerds, we probably also want to know why it broke.
Yeah.
So tell us, hey, we figured out that this upgrade went wrong, or this database crashed, or whatever. Not because it's important, but because it's interesting. Because the important thing is, it works again. And for AWX, I think that's more difficult because, well, as you also mentioned, there's probably also some reasons inside of Red Hat why you couldn't talk about it. But I think in anything, silence is the worst.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a weekly, we're still working on it, stay tuned. And then share what you can, or say that you cannot share it yet, but that you hope to share next week or whatever. I think that just it only breaks the silence, but I think that's a major thing. You don't have to say anything, but still be present.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Maybe there could be a dedicated forum tag, let's say, called like service shutdown or whatever.
Yeah.
Because it can, to do it through those regular channels like, let's say, news and announcements. There are a lot of news, a lot of announcements.
Yeah.
So
Did anyone notice that there was a forum banner
Yes.
on? I know it took a few hours for that to appear.
No, I think it would be great to get something, let's say, email.
Yeah, I mean, what works? Right? I know because I get a ping and I have lots of people messaging me. But what communication method would work, right? Would you know to look at the forum, or would you?
Well, you can do the same thing as with Bullhorn, right? So you can subscribe to the forum which has the announcements on it. So whenever there's a new post, you get it in your mail automatically. So if you just want these service messages, you just subscribe to that forum, and then whenever something gets posted, you get it in your email.
Okay. So let's. I like that. Let's talk a little bit about it to work out what the right signal to noise ratio is. Right? Are you thinking the existing news and announcement area where it's basically weekly Bullhorn and occasionally major releases, or like we'll announce these things? Is that the right place, or?
I'd say yes.
Well, what do others think? Do you think? I mean, does it also make sense what I'm saying, right? Because I realise not everyone spends their entire life thinking about Ansible communication in a forum every 30 seconds. So if this stuff isn't clear, please say, right? Because that's a really easy fix. I like that. It's something I can. Well, it's not a technology problem. It's just reminding someone to.
I believe a dedicated tag would be better because not everyone is interested in getting all of those announcements.
Yes.
Gets status, I was just about to. Yeah, because it can be up or down, but when he gets down, you want to know, but when he comes back up, you also want to know, right? So status would be.
So is this, are we thinking a tag that is just, words are difficult, like critical service interruption? Like is it just for?
Service status.
Service status, yeah. So it's just for there is a fire, here's the update, and we've now solved it, yeah.
And I think what I mentioned earlier, the whole, it doesn't have to be very long, but for example, when Cloudflare had these issues like a few times with the database crash or AWS, they post this post-mortem thingy. It's just like a small blog post like this happened, we did this, and we hope this never happens again because blah.
And I really like those. I think it builds a lot of trust with their customers and community, right?
Yeah,
There's a lot of free users.
Because we all know we're not infallible, but
I mean, yeah, if anyone's made a system that worked up all the time, I'll go and find a job and you can come work.
yeah, exactly. We would all be out of jobs.
Yeah, Daniel.
Now on this topic, it's like there's been ideas in the past of maybe having like a status page kind of thing. It's like uptime to status pages, and they can obviously like fire notifications when like the service is down. Maybe something like that, and they could fire into the forum and then tag, that tag so that it notifies everyone who's following it.
Yeah, I like that. We've tried to get Galaxy and other things on status.redhat.com.
You don't know.
It's just painful. But I have the DNS permissions on Ansible.com, and I could go do that. So maybe
It's not already there, so.
yeah. Oh, is there a holding page?
No, that's what I said, it's not already there.
Oh, it's not there. Yeah. So yeah, that seems something quite good, and maybe we can put some bits for Galaxy, the doc site, Matrix, a few other things. Anyone put status pages together and looked at that type of infrastructure and know what would be a good set of tooling to use?
Yeah, Uptown Kuma probably.
Okay.
That's
Cool.
the
I
one
think
heard recently, but
I run it for a few sites. It's quite nice.
which one?
Uptown Kuma.
Oh, it's simple.
And you got some integration. You can use some API polling and then trigger, feed some data in and poke some data out. Or
Don't know about that bit. It does all the monitoring automatically. You have to look
Okay.
into the like putting messages in there or
Yeah.
like status messages,
Yeah.
but it'll check up and down, and you can hook it into. There's like 40 integrations or something.
oh, cool.
It's an email.
You can definitely, I think you can do webhooks to support like.
Yeah, webhooks and it does all kind of notification systems and.
You can always contribute as well. Like they have like a notification system. You can contribute like a discourse.
Yeah, discourse and a
notification
Matrix
provider or
one.
something.
So what's it called? Sorry, Uptime.
Uptime Kuma.
Okay.
Yeah, something, yeah.
It's open source. It's Docker container.
Yeah.
But this is a monitoring system. You basically, from the customer side point, you only want a status page.
Yeah, but
Whatever
you
system.
can. The public bit is the status page basically.
Yeah.
In the admin interface, you can add all the stuff, but the public-facing thing is just a status page.
Yeah, that sounds really
It
good.
looks like that.
Yeah.
Ah, green lines, very good. 10 out of 10 to 10 to this admin points.
Yeah, all my stuff is green.
Cool, you got 3 minutes left. Cool, that sounds really good. I really like that. I think we've got some things that are very easy. It's a couple of clicks to make a new tag, and I think, you know, you can set up a new DNS entry and just put some basic stuff in. Won't set up any alerting and see how it goes. Seems like we've got some experts that can help us on that. Daniel?
As an alternative, there's also like Gators, which is also a status page sort of thing, but with that one it's more like YAML config driven. So we could even have like a community repo and have the Gators config in a public repo, and then the community can like contribute. We need to add a new endpoint to monitor, like all that sort of stuff. So that could be, and that's also open source project.
Yeah, I don't think we'll pick the tooling today, but it seems like there's some different things, and we're starting to see some extra requirements, which is great.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. Yeah.
Maybe a question is that before you try to put the status on status.redhat.com, but what is the reason why it's not possible? Because it's upstream, or is it?
Because it's not technically capital S supported. Now, personally, not speaking on behalf of Red Hat, I think Galaxy should be capital S supported, because I can tell you the large number of customers that complain.
How about Quay.io? Is this capitalized supported?
Yes,
Okay.
it's product.
Yeah, it's products, yeah.
But isn't the product Red Hat Quay and not Quay.io? Like we have the Red Hat Automation Hub as product, and Galaxy as the upstream. Isn't Quay.io the upstream?
I don't know.
I just
mean,
Googled for it, but that is how.
But it's run by the product ops teams, so like, if that's the difference, is like,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
yeah, that's kind of, or partially the difference.
yeah, I mean, this is when you get into the internal stuff, and I'm not going
Okay.
to waste time now, but like, yeah, it's very deliberate that in my team that we don't actually have, like, we pay for discourse, we pay a chunk of money, we want to support them, they monitor it, they keep it running. I don't have a page set up for people on my team, because that's not how we're set up, right? So we don't want to be in that business. Cool.
Okay. I think that's it. Thanks very much. You can always find us on the forum. If you're not already, please join us.
Yeah, really good
Anything else to-
discussion.
yeah.
I really appreciate all the ideas. I always come out with a good sized to-do list, but we're going to delegate and work together on this. And this is a place where, you know, all these bits we'll do as a community, right? We'll start a forum post, we'll get some ideas if folks are interested. Like, I'd love for you to help. You can have some permissions come out on the repos for these things.
And I was going to say, a conversation doesn't like end today.
Yeah.
We're going to have a forum post about this, and we are going to like try and be more open and transparent about our goals and priorities as we work through setting some of those. And let's keep this conversation ongoing. So if you want to join us on the forum and talk to us there, if you have ideas, or you can just come talk to me or someone else from the team and give us your thoughts. Thank you very much for...
So next on the schedule, we've got Felix and Let's. I realise we've been sort of going for an hour and a half, bit longer. Would people actually like sort of a 10-minute break at this point? Cool. Okay. Yeah. There's toilets just at the end of that this corridor. Should hopefully be some.
How much time do we have left?
So you've got. You'll have about 45 minutes, but we can eat into the break from after. So.
No worries. I just wanted to.
Have you done that?
No, wait, don't turn it off yet.
No, I was just pressing mute.
Yeah.
Oh, if you muted it.
I want to check the battery before we turn it off because it's a 1 bar, so I'll change the batteries.
That's right. Well, that's why I wanted to check in on.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Are we muted on the live stream?
Not yet. Let me. don't think it's hard.
Hello, welcome to this discussion.
Closer. No, closer.
Yeah.
Okay, this is better.
It's not working.
Okay, is it? Yeah, it sounds better. Well, welcome to this discussion. I hope I can hold it in some way that it doesn't make these breathing noises all the time. Originally, somewhere in, I think in November, I wrote a little comment that I want to give a rant talk about some things at Ansible that are really annoying, and or especially to me, but also that I see are causing problems in other places. And then at some point someone changes through the discussion between Nitz and me, and so now we have this discussion. I'm not really sure how we will do this, but I guess we'll improvise a bit.
Yes, and.
Yes, and. No. Your problem. Okay, so one of the things I think is impacting most people, and it's probably one of the worst things, is like support for Python versions. Especially because it implies also support for old operating systems. Like if you are managing RHEL 8 or Rocky 8 or Alma 8 or whatever system, or like an older Debian LTS version, then you might find out that the latest Ansible core versions don't really allow you to use them anymore or to administer them anymore, especially if you want to install packages, because they're requiring bindings for the package managers. Actually, I just heard that for apt maybe there are now bindings also for other Python versions, but at least for RHEL and I guess also for Rocky and so on. There you just have Python bindings for the system Python, which is I think 3.6, which hasn't been supported by Ansible Core since 2017. So you basically have to use Ansible Core 2.16, which is already a couple of years old and also is missing a lot of features. Also cool features. Not everyone might like all of them, but that's another topic. So yeah, that was one of my big topics, but from the comments I heard earlier today and also from what Nitz just told to me, it looks like something will be done about that, maybe. And maybe, Nitz, can you tell what's currently planned?
Yep. Yeah. So I've heard from this is a common theme we've heard for a long time, and it's like we know this is a problem. And so it's been, we've tried lots of different little tricks to work around this, and you know, the one we keep hoping would happen was that that RHEL and some other teams would just package the bindings for multiple versions of Python, not just the system Python, because Ansible itself, Ansible core itself doesn't care. We don't care about RHEL versions or anything else. It's like whatever you're running the controller on and whatever target you're managing. Do we have a supported Python version on there? Great, we're in business. But there are some special important things there with caveats there with those things like libdnf is the biggest one that if you want to do package management on RHEL using the DNF module, the package action, any of those things, you have to have libdnf bindings on the target that work. And for technical reasons beyond I guess the short answer for the reason they don't do this is, I don't know if you've ever looked at the way that those things are built, but unlike normal kind of Python packages, they're all generated swig bindings for Python, Ruby, Perl. They have a whole bunch of, so libdnf, libsclinux, firewalld, a handful of these things. There isn't just something that you can go run that will easily cough up a Python binding for these things. They're built monolithically. So when the entire RPM package for DNF is built, or for SELinux, or some of these other things, all of these other bindings are built along with it. They're very tightly coupled. Like there aren't a lot of ABI guarantees between the generated Python extension binding and the actual libdnf. So if there's a change made to that thing and the binding isn't updated, then it's going to seg fault when you go try to use it, which nobody wants that either. So and just the way they do this, it's not easy. Those spec files, they build one, they target one version of Python. So it's possible to make it target another version and do these things. It takes a few minutes to figure it out, but especially even with libdnf5, they cleaned up the builds, so it's easier to do this. But still, it would be really dangerous if we were actually publishing extension bindings for these things ourselves, because without that ABI guarantee, if there's some CVE or some there's some update to libdnf and the binding doesn't match exactly, then when you go to use it, seg fault. So that's definitely bad. So the RHEL team is also obviously not really keen to take on these the management of those problems too. Though I've heard that SUSE has started doing it, so for libdnf for their shipped versions of it, and Zipper and some other things. So, but anyway, that discussion really, like every time, it always comes down to the easy solution from our perspective is not going to happen. So in Ansible Core 2.21, we're trying something a little different. The PR is out there already. Civil's been working on it. Matt Clay kind of suggested a little twist on something that I suggested a while back that made it even simpler. But basically what ended up happening is Civil built a really tiny C-types wrapper around the parts of libdnf that we need to talk to, and stuck that into the DNF package, or sorry, into the Ansible DNF module. We have another, it's just another Python file in there that does this and works against the versions of libdnf that we need it to. So I don't know if this is going to work well for everything else, but it seems to work well enough for libdnf. So we're able now to say, you can use libdnf from any supported target Python version, and I don't remember how far back he went with it, if he went back to RHEL 7, but I know it works on, it's been working on 8, 9, 10, and the various CentOS streams and Fedoras that go along with those. So we're gonna ship that as kind of the canary in the coal mine for 2.21 and see if that works. And if that does, we put a few new capabilities into the module builder and some other things to support this, so that we can kind of conditionally add resource type things like that are only there if they're needed. So if that whole thing works out well in 2.21, we'll probably document that process and harden it a little more, so that other other collection maintainers that have dependencies like this, you can go and plug that in. So like, you know, Ansible POSIX has a few of these. They've got the Firewall D and SE Linux ones. And if this pattern kind of works well, we'll document that stuff and make that public. And you know, core team is probably not going to take on doing, you know, building those things, but at least that there is a supported way to do this now. So the ideal thing would be that, you know, for those that are interested from the product perspective and the paying customer perspective, I think the ideal would be that for the content that needs it, for all the things like rel system roles and everything else, we can get those things built and shipped in there, and all of that content will just start working. So you still would have to install a Python version that's new enough on the target to do it. So we wouldn't be actually using Python 3.6. We would be using, you know, so you'd still have to have a supported Python version available on that target. But yes.
So Ansible does the Python interpreter discovery.
Yes.
Will it be able to handle this particular case?
Yes. Oh yeah, sorry. The question was if interpreter discovery would be able to assist in this particular case, and yes, and in fact it sort of eliminates the need for interpreter discovery in this particular case, because you don't care what the Python version is as long as it's something that we support. So the interpreter discovery, the default list takes whatever the newest Python version we support and then starts walking backwards. So it's basically going to be whatever the newest supported Python version that you've got on the target, that's what we're going to use. Cool. I think that's a reasonably sane, you know, behavior for the things that don't, you know, that don't have other requirements. And if you've got something more specific, obviously you can override the Python interpreter to force it to use whatever you need. At least, you know, yeah, we should find something that can work. So yeah. Yes.
Until when is it expected that the certified collection at least will then be able to support that one? That would be with GA of 2.21 or a year later?
TBD. Yeah. So the question was if we like when is this going to be supported? Basically for either whether it's certified content or at least the things that are like system roles and, you know, all of those kinds of things. TBD. Most of that I think is over my head. It's you know, it's someone else's. But you know, for those of you on the customer side, talk to your TAM or your product manager and tell them that you want this, and they'll, you know, I think that those discussions are happening basically like who's gonna take the work to do the pieces on the other parts of the content. But yeah, so core team, we figured out a pattern for it. We've shipped the things for core in 2.21. If there are other things, though, that work can probably start happening as soon as we merge the stuff here in the next couple of weeks. Yeah, it's just they got to find somebody to do the work. So yeah. Is there any other questions or discussion about that particular problem? Yes, in the back.
Not discussion, but could someone link the open merge request in the Hacker Meeting?
Yeah. Someone, actually, I don't know. Maybe Felix can find it.
I can try to.
It's just look for one that's, you know, on core civil. I think it's the newest one that's open. So there's
search for relate issues.
Support
core. Yeah, the question was just if we could link that to HackMD, link the open PR for the DNF wrapper binding thing. So Felix is going to take care of that. So yeah, any other questions or discussion about that? Yeah.
Does it fix the problem that Ansible don't work with Red Hat 8? And
sorry, I missed the last half of that the question. Like, does it fix the problem that?
Yes, it will.
Ansible is not working with.
Oh, Rel 8.
Red Hat 8 because they use Python in version.
So the question was if does it fix the problem that if Ansible core doesn't support the Python version. Yes, this is basically the fix for the or at least this is the pattern that can be used by, there's other work to be done by collection authors to make this functional, but like core teams trying out a pattern for the place where we have this problem, which is the DNF module. And if this is successful and deemed workable by users, then yes, and then there will be a pattern in place for other collection authors that have to have to write modules that need to talk to these system bindings to make those things Python independent or Python version independent. Then again, the only requirement is that the target still has to have a new enough Python that core can talk to it. But that's always been the case for the entire lifetime of Ansible, and that's a much easier requirement to deal with. It just means there's some extra work for some of those other collection maintainers to build their binding replacement, basically.
Thank you.
Yeah. Other questions? Going once, going twice? Okay.
Good.
I'll hand it back to Felix for his next item. He's got quite a list over here. That's good.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot for that. I mean, it's still kind of annoying that you might have to use some raw tasks first to make sure that you actually have a new enough Python version. But at least I think for most users this will be great if this works, because it will make it a lot easier. Yeah, I mean, that was one of the biggest points. I'm glad to hear that there's actually work being done on that. Another thing, or another big topic which has been quite annoying is going back to data tagging. This also has been mentioned a bit in the last days. I mean, one big problem seems to have been that especially data tagging has been, it has been a very big change with data tagging. In case you don't know this term, it basically means the changes which ended up in 2.19, which changed how the trust model worked, which disallowed certain Boolean expressions. They now have to return a proper Boolean, like something Booleanish or true-ish or false-ish is no longer allowed and rejected by default. And a lot of other changes related to templating. These are basically all go under the topic of data tagging, because they all were made because data tagging was added. And I personally think this is a great thing. I mean, of course there have been some things which didn't work well, but in general I think this is a really good thing, because especially now it makes templating more predictable. So especially for all people who start using Ansible, this will be great, because before it was always a problem that you wrote something, you had a small template somewhere, some expression, and then you weren't really sure what type it is until you tested. And then you change a little thing and suddenly the type changes because of some mysterious reason. Because there's something was suddenly interpreted as a data structure and sometimes not, depending on, well, if you look in the code you can figure it out, but I mean it's not really great for users. And this doesn't really happen anymore, which of course breaks some existing code, which relies on these funny things happening, but I think in general it's better. But that's not what I really want to talk about. But one big problem seemed to be that, I mean, this is a really huge feature. And from my point of view, one of the biggest changes or breaking changes in Ansible since probably the change from 1 to 2 or something like that. And it seemed like it wasn't really tested that well. I mean, there has been a lot of testing happening. But I mean, there were also a lot of things, especially in the ecosystem, especially like some Red Hat maintained collections, which simply broke or didn't work anymore. Even though there has been a long talk about testing it against pre-releases. I mean, some of the bugs even had been reported by members of the community like months before the actual release of 2.19 happened. But just, well, nothing happened about that until it was released, and then people figured out, oh, it doesn't work, so now we have to do something. And oh, in some of the cases, like Ansible Netcommon, it turned out that it actually requires changes in core. And I mean, if core is already released, it's basically too late to make changes in core. And then basically, like also for the Ansible community package, we had to wait until the next core release happened to include some fixes so that Ansible netcommon can actually be made working again. Which is, well, from the community point of view, it's really horrible how this went. And yeah, I'm really wondering, I mean, this is, I guess, a lot of internals in Red Hat going on there. I'm really wondering why it is so problematic or hard to get better testing from inside of Red Hat for new stuff in Ansible core. Especially if they are so big changes. I mean, they didn't come by surprise. They have been announced some time in advance. There have been like calls to test things and still nothing happened. I'm not really sure how much you can tell about it, but I just wanted
to take that.
If you want, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
you're,
might be.
You're aware of, I think you know most everything I do, so.
I mean, let me be direct. We, Red Hat, Ansible engineering, we messed up, right? I mean, there's no way around that, right? The fact that we, core, were working on updating updating templating, we communicated this very clearly. And the community's always got really involved. Like, was it 56 people, I think, had got involved and talked with the thing. We just messed up. We just didn't track the work properly. We looked at the individual collections and done some work there, but we didn't do anything there. That's done. What I'm going to do with my manager hand is I'm going to work with some of the networking teams to get them working a little bit more upstream and to go and put in some help, monitoring of issues and different things we can work there. And just networking more generally, right? Like the old Slack instance, we're going to move that into the forum. We're going to make sure that there's one place where the discussion's happening. It was fragmented, so bits of conversations were being lost. Yeah. Can you hear me okay in the back now? Sorry if that wasn't clear before. So yeah, we've got some specific bits. We've got some meetings up for once we get back from some travels. We hope to avoid this type of issue again. And this comes back to the main the stuff that Don was talking about earlier, right? The pain of testing in places. There are different ways that we're testing. And although we're running the right, good tests, not everyone was running from the develop branch. Right? The bleeding edge, the unreleased, unstable version of Ansible core, which we should be doing. So there's just gaps in some of our testing, and this is another reason. Don't let a good crisis go to the waste, right? Like we've got a bit of a spotlight on here. I quite like this because I get to push my own agenda of how I think things should be done, and hopefully we can make things a bit better in the future. But this again, it's a consistency part. Hopefully that felt like an okay answer without being totally fobbed off, Felix.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. I'll say I don't know whether the netcommon collection was testing against Devil. Were they not at that time?
No, and that was the
I
problem.
just checked, they definitely are now.
Cool. So we've hopefully fixed that bit. Now, whether anyone's looking at the test results, I mean that's a problem enough. I think we'll look at. But well, one of the simple things we're going to do, I think, is put in copy the automation. I think Core might have this, and maybe the AWX repo for every new issue in PR to add a needs triage label on it, and then that's a simple GitHub view that the maintainer of that collection can look at and go, well, you've got one page to look at to see what you need to triage and are you paying attention. And I can monitor it to make sure people are doing their work and keeping on top of those queues. So yeah, hopefully a few bits we can do there.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sorry, one.
Okay, I just add to what Gendo mentioned. I'm leading the networking.
Do you want to put you on the spot? Yeah, and so this is Chetner, who's actually the engineering manager of networking, and is doing this brilliant job. And like I said, I accept the blame on this stuff, but not for you. This is not Chetner's problem.
Also, I might want to say I'm not looking to place blame on individual persons.
No.
Because there were also some other collections, there were also some other problems, and it's just my hope that this will be better in the future if something like similar changes happen again, that this goes in a more smooth way, especially both for users and for community, and also for the people who have to package the community distribution and so on. Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, it's better now? Okay, cool. So like Gando said, yeah, we messed up. I understand that, the collection broke down and there was a lot of, noise about it. And we tried our best to get a workaround as soon as possible. the moment we got to know, we tried to do our best with the workaround and everything. And as said, I really talked about that in my talk yesterday as well. Velocity matters when it comes to maintaining these extensive collections, and like our releases are independent of Ansible core as well. So sometimes it happens. So what we expect from community is just to highlight those to us as well, help us identify those issues, and I will try our best to triage community issues going forward. And like as Gandlo mentioned, we'll work around to make it better for community versions as well. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I mean, also there were people who added actually comments that it's broken in May already, and but apparently nobody read them. So, or I don't know what exactly happened, but it's good that you talk about it and try to improve it. That's great. Yeah, something related to that is, I mean, there have been more breaking or changes, like for example, this inject facts as vars, the default that changed. And one topic there was that someone asked on the forum, like, why is this changed? And there hasn't been any reaction from anyone from the core team or anyone who really knows for a longer time until there have been some comments. I think Brian Coker at some point like started commenting and then in some like half sentence mentioned like a reason why this could have been done. And I think a general pattern is, I mean, this might also be related to the previous topic, to the 2.19 changes. I mean, for some people who have been following this stuff, like especially data tagging for a long time, for them it's kind of obvious why this is done. But I guess for many people, this changes just popped up randomly without warning and broke everything and nobody knows why, or at least from their point of view. And okay, if you looked at the porting guide, you could of course see some explanations for it. So I think there it was not that bad. But I think a general thing is that it would be great if there would be better communication about breaking changes, especially if they affect many people. I mean, there are always some small breaking changes. Something was deprecated, changed, like some things are pretty obvious to why they are changed, but some others, like for example this one, it's far from obvious why it's changed. I mean, a lot of people who know more about how this fact injection works kind of are happy about it or can see why it would be changed, but it's still, for other people, it's like a complete surprise. This has been working like that since Ansible 1. I don't know what, long time. And now suddenly it's changing and you have like 2 years to adjust, and then Ansible core versions won't do that anymore. Well, now it won't do it by default anymore, and at some point it will actually be removed. And yeah, I don't know if it's...
Okay.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of pieces to this. I think the bigger the challenge that we have with this is still more about, I think it's mostly about the communication end of it, because for this one in particular, this was actually one of the things that data tagging was that's one of the reasons that we were using to push to do data tagging when we did it, was so that we could move forward with actually deprecating inject facts as vars, because the knob has been in there since like, I don't know, like maybe 2.5 or something. We've wanted to start doing this because it's a secure. I mean, if anybody wants to know the specifics of the security problem with it, I can explain it like maybe offline. But in any case, the inject facts as vars, it is a security problem and kind of a nasty one potentially, depending on what you're doing. So we've wanted to be able to deprecate this for a long time, but data tagging or some way of being able to tell you that you're using a variable that is going to go away was a prerequisite for that. So data tagging has been the thing we've been waiting for, to be able to actually start the deprecation clock on that thing since 2.5 or whenever it went in. So it's been a long time. But yeah, I think the bigger picture here, the bigger thing to focus on is more the communication and like how can we do a better job of explaining how and why. And for those that remember, I'm trying to remember which things we did. A few things there. There are a few error messages and deprecation warnings over the years that actually had embedded links in them that would kick you to documentation. And with all of the doc site shuffle over the last several years, like that's been more difficult to maintain. But I personally, I was the one that put that feature in there in the first place. Which I don't even remember what we're using them for anymore. But there were a handful of places where there was a complex. Interpreter discovery was one of them. So like, yeah, the interpreter discovery thing, that was actually, I put that in there, and it was exactly for this kind of thing. It's like, hey, here's something complicated I don't want to have to explain in line in this warning or error message. It's like, oh, please read this like these 3 paragraphs of text about what this warning means. To be able to link you out to something that, like, if you don't understand what this means or why this is important, like, here's a docs page that we can link to tell you. I feel like we're missing, we've not made any new ones of that style of things since interpreter discovery, I think, just because, so this is something, where's Don? Like, it's like, this feels like one of those things, like, if we can figure out a better, like, permalink pattern or something, that we can do this sort of thing for these version specific, possibly, content warnings, and be able to embed those links back in core. I feel like that's at least a better solution for being able to tell people, like, why is this a thing and why does this matter? So I think that's part of it. There's the pre-communication of, like, this is, and the discussion of this is coming, and maybe, I think the forum is probably a good place for that. We tend to have gotten a little more insular maybe on the core team with some of these things, where we talk about it amongst ourselves and we just kind of forget that that's not happening in a public forum. Because we used to discuss this stuff in IRC all the time back. Whenever there was something like this, we would, the regular core things, when there were stuff like that coming, we would try to do this stuff in IRC so that the discussion was open. If you were hanging around and looking in the right place, you could see the discussion and participate and say, like, hey, I think this is a bad idea, or maybe if you thought of this. I feel like, since we've moved, so the IRC stuff has kind of mostly gone away, and the matrix stuff, we've stopped doing those kind of office hours style things because people weren't participating in them, and so we kind of just, it got to a point where it was just crickets every day, and so we're like, okay, well, I guess, but I feel like maybe there's probably something that we could do there that would be better. I don't know what it is. Short of like opening up the core team Slack to everybody, but but we, especially when that IRC stuff was pretty regularly happening and people really engaged with it, we tried to if there was any kind of important discussion like that, we were having that, if at least mirroring and summarizing and giving people an opportunity to comment on those things before they were sort of a foregone conclusion. And I don't feel like we have a good venue for that anymore. And so if people have ideas or suggestions about that, the forum might be a fine place to do it. I think that there's the asynchronous nature of it, I think, is a lot better than, get up at 2 o'clock in the morning to go jump into an IRC meeting and get your pitchfork out for us. So maybe that is the or at least certainly a way to try. And so I will commit to that, and I'll try to hold the core team a little more accountable for that as well. Just to say, hey, when we're starting to do things like this before, either before the PR shows up or certainly before it gets merged, like let's any of these things like this that are going to affect large swaths of people, like let's make sure that we've got a place to discuss this stuff as it's evolving. Because we're all flying low on things, we've got deadlines to get these things into, and so a lot of times, some of us in particular are, very, we're on the very end of the deadlines usually, so we're past them. So, but yeah. So I don't know. Any other thoughts on that before we move on to the next one? I guess I'll take that though as a, some good feedback that the core team could do a better job of just publicizing some of these things before it's a foregone conclusion, giving more opportunity for alternative viewpoints and what do you thought about this kinds of things?
I also have some more comments on that actually.
Good.
Oh, wait. Yeah. Well, one thing I think doing this on the forum will be really great. I mean, I tried to attend these IRC meetings in the past, originally they were happening, I think, once or twice per week even.
Yeah, and we would switch. The
And
time
then at some
zones.
point it was switched, and then it was only once per month, and then it was happening at a time where I usually couldn't come, and then they went away basically. It was really, I mean, it was nice when this happened in the open, but then it vanished. So doing it on the forum would be great. But another thing I want to mention is that this is not just about Ansible Core, but there are also collections deprecating things, and I guess I also did this in the past where I probably never really mentioned why something is deprecated or then broken at some point or removed, because it was clear to me and it was clear to everyone else involved, but probably not to users. So I think it's probably in general a good idea also for collection maintainers or contributors to, like, if you deprecate something, to make sure that you put more information into the issues or the pull requests, and that you link to these pull issues and pull requests, both from the porting guide, like if you're making in your changelog, if you have like the deprecated features entries that you link to the issue and or the pull request where there is some more information in it. And I think it's probably also a good idea to do this actually from the deprecation message, so that the user who runs Ansible Playbook on something and suddenly gets a deprecation message, that they directly have a link where they can find more information about why this is actually deprecated, instead of having to write like this a long text for every deprecation message, which nobody wants to read and isn't helpful. I guess, are there more thoughts on that from anyone else, or does it sound like a good idea? Or
Yeah, sounds good.
I maybe show up with your hand if you have seen like a deprecation warning where you've really been wondering, so why is this deprecated? I have no idea. And yeah, I think probably most of or many of you did. And yeah, I think we should all be better with that, because I've also been doing it wrong, I guess, in a few places, or probably some more. So yeah, you have something.
Maybe I think a good thing would be to do architecture decision records in the repository as like an addition to why is the collection in the state it is right now, why are there certain decisions have been made in the past. So that it would also, you could link to this when something deprecates, for instance in a pull request, but it's not lost in an issue somewhere. And if somebody would like to contribute to the collection, you can easily read through this and understand why things are the way they are at the moment.
Yeah, that's also a good point. I mean, the point was that architectural decision, or I forgot the exact term, that these are also recorded, that there's some information in the issue or also in the pull request, or at least linked to the right place, where there's some information about how the situation got as it is now and why this needs to change, and maybe also what the change exactly is. So that if someone later wants to check or to go through and figure out what happened, that they have this good documentation or like a good place where they can see, like, without having to read through 100 discussions spread out over potentially multiple different sources, that they can really see why this was changed and what happened, and why this originally was not as it was supposed to be.
So I actually, that kind of got me thinking in a couple of different directions, that last comment about just using an ADR, an architecture decision record for that. So I'm actually curious from the people in this room anyway, so I think most of you at some point you've probably seen the interpreter discovery message with the link in it. Okay, so that links to a docs page, and the docs page thing has always been problematic a little bit for that because of it's things moving around. And so what I'm wondering there is, if we did have what I would like to do here, what I would like to see from this, the outcome of this one, is that we have kind of one way to do this, that works for collections, that works for community, that works for core, that works for all of these things. And so my question to the room here would be, my question to the room here really is, would you rather see a link to whether it's a little markdown file or something in a repo, or would you rather see it to a finished docs page? Is the repo good enough, I guess, is the question, because that is a whole lot easier than linking to a rendered docs page that has all of these things. And I really that's always been a challenge. That's why we've tried. That's what the problem that we've run into over and over again with this is that the docs. The docs side of it is tricky because it's like you've got core docs, you've got like the Ansible community package docs, you've got downstream docs. What do we link to? So if it were like, if it's just kicking you back into a repo that's got this thing where that change was made, like that's kind of easier, but it's also not as nice maybe for an end user. So I don't know. Yeah.
I have strong opinions on this.
Okay.
I think that we should have a subdomain that is only doing redirects, and the redirects are managed in a Git repo, basically as a code, and everyone can do a PR so that basically it can add a new redirect, and for every error you would have a unique link, and then that link could move over time to different things, so that basically you have a stable link within the Ansible application, but at the same time that link is always up to date because obviously you can move it.
So let me repeat that for so the one thing was, the one suggestion was, if we've got like a subdomain or something where you can link to, whether it's some kind of like errata things or just these little permalinks documents of some kind TBD that would be kind of shared for all of these things, and that maybe the technology can change, but the entry point, the front door stays the same, and then we don't really care what.
Yeah, and that would be only doing redirects.
Okay, yeah, and that thing would only be doing redirects. So yeah, that seems like a way to do it. If you haven't seen the stuff that was happening, and Don probably knows the doc site stuff. For a long time, we really don't like breaking links, and so the doc site had this just god awful like htaccess, the redirection stuff that was going on in there was not htaccess, but there was some really awful like multi-layers as the doc site kind of evolved over the years, trying to keep things going, and it just got to the point where it was circular, it was slow, we couldn't do anything dynamic with it, and I think bankruptcy was eventually declared on it. And so what I want to make sure is if we come up with something here, that we have something that's like, it's good enough to meet the needs of like both core team and other, Ansible and Red Hat product teams things, but also that community and collections should be able to use this exact same mechanism to do all of these things. So, yeah.
About the idea of having it just in a markdown in the repo, I personally think that would be even a worse idea than linking to an issue, because the markdown in the repo could also just disappear at some point. At some version, it's just no longer there, and it would be really hard to find with other means than the link. If it's in a doc, then you can tag it with deprecation warning, and it would be findable in search, and files in a repo are not really
true. Yeah. Okay. So the comment there was that if it is just kind of a markdown file or something in a repo, it can disappear, and that it's also not particularly very searchable, or easily maybe linked in with the rest of the doc stuff. So okay, yeah. Actually, it's got a little. Oh yeah. Right.
I would argue why not both, because the thing is not every collection is in the community package. So if you have a collection that has a lot of traction, and maybe moves to the community package at some point, and you don't have this information in the repo or somewhere else, just render the markdown in the repo. When you get lost, the information get lost, but we will figure that out, I think.
Yeah, so there was just more comments about the collections moving around, and what if it's not part of the community collection or becomes like yeah. And this is why this is complicated. Okay.
Also, a link to a Git repo, even though it could be GitHub, for instance, it's not something that you can assume to be stable over the course of 10 years, because who knows what will happen in 10 years to GitHub, and maybe the Ansible community will move somewhere else. So in the end, you need to have something that is on a domain that you control, but at the same time that also arrives directly to the resource the person is looking for.
Yeah. So more the comment was basically that more ammunition, more that we just having links to Git repos directly is probably not a great idea, because like, you know, GitHub could go away tomorrow. It would probably be good to have whatever this is be behind some kind of facade that's on our subdomain that we own, and that we can, if we need to adjust to changes over time, that we have at least the ability to do so.
I was just going to say, so that redirect strategy could be good. And if, you know, as you mentioned, like if the community suddenly, you know, for some reason, whatever, did move away to some other, like, source forge or something, then it wouldn't matter. Like the redirect would just take you to the new location, and it would just be updated by the community over time.
As long as it's not the same redirection mechanism that we used in the doc site. So I don't know, how big did that was like a multi-megabyte file, right? I mean, it was just nuts and completely unmaintainable after a while. So, yeah, you're gonna.
So I think there's two parts to this. I think there's the where do we document the reference material. Well, one thing we saw that worked really well during the templating changes in 2019 is having a place where folks can go and discuss and get feedback also helps. And then we take bits of feedback and we improve the doc. So I think maybe for these new pages we're going to create, we should actually have a link back to a dedicated forum post, or at least a tag on the forum, somewhere where we're guiding people to the right place to us. But I really like the idea of, I mean, Microsoft do is go.microsoft.com/number. I think that's pretty easy to do.
Yeah, Microsoft does this sometimes with, and they declare bankruptcy every once in a while and break all that stuff. You're like, oh, we're not going to break it. We're not going. Oh, it's all broken. So at least yeah, the linking back to the possibility of maybe linking back to any forum discussions that happened before this thing was made, or during and after the decision, and that part's kind of living discussion. But at least the okay, for what we shipped and what we want to tell people when they encounter this, that there is kind of a fixed thing sitting around somewhere.
I just brought a counterpoint to a file in repo, but now I don't know how structured you meant it in the first place, but I had the idea it could also be in the repo, maybe in a pretty standardized way. So we say we have in the meta directory or something like an adr.md that has a standard and that everyone should follow, and that's kind of a standardized way. And you could also render that in the docs, but it would live in the repo, and it would also survive moving the repo to other sites or to the community collection.
Yeah. So basically, the comment was that maybe if this were a standardized thing, that if there were a standard place that collections should put these things, that and a standardish way to represent them, that they could be rendered in doc sites, but then also any kind of redirection facility or dynamic thing could do that if we kind of agreed on a way to do this, and just remember that. So yeah. Felix has something?
Yeah, I mean, I like that idea, but also there's something we have to think about, that is, if we make this too complicated for collection maintainers, they might not do it at all. So we have to make sure that if we do something, especially try to standardize it, that it should be quite easy for people to use. Otherwise, it probably won't be used, and that's probably worse than that's not better than the current situation.
I would just add to that I think at least starting with what you're talking about there, with the kind of doing it in the collection, I think that's kind of table stakes, right? We have to do that, and how we choose to access and surface that stuff to make it both in core, like I want to be able to give an URL to one of these things. Like I have to figure out that's where we might need something that's kind of able to send you to one of those things, or to be able to pull from those things. But ultimately, there still needs to be, I think the source of truth for all this stuff needs to be in the repo, and not probably in a shared repo, because that brings the whole thing of like, well, who gets to contribute to that repo, and somebody has to manage that now. And so maybe there's some inheritance of some of those things, like, okay, if you're in the community collection, like your stuff automatically is able to be redirected through that. I don't know, we have to figure that out. But what I definitely don't want to do is come up with some other thing that's like people are having to get, you know, request access, or that there's PRs to this giant shared repo for every collection under the sun, that like that seems like not the way to go. Like we should be able to do this in a way that's a little more kind of democratic for the for everyone to be able to get their stuff in there and use these kind of standard patterns without having to have it blessed by someone else. Yeah.
How much more? I know Felix has got a long list, but we're sort of getting towards the time to. But I don't know if you've got one you want to finish on, or.
I definitely don't want to finish the whole list, because then we will still sit here probably
we've
tomorrow.
We've got time this afternoon, so.
No, it's, I mean, one thing actually, which was nice, because I think you mentioned yesterday at some point, or maybe the day before even, that there's something in the works for that. One thing that has been bothering me for a longer time, and I think also other people, because I remember reading things about that, like even on the mailing list. They have been disabled for some time now, probably long before, like the 210 collection split. Namely about warnings and deprecation warnings, and being able to disable specific ones, and or like even like making them errors, but only some of them, because usually, yeah, I mean, if you have ever like used a C++ compiler or C compiler, you know that there's this flag W all, which basically shows you all warnings. Then there's warnings as errors, which many people enable to make sure that every warning results in an error and makes compilation fail. But then there are also some cases where warnings are not really helpful, because you know that the compiler tries to warn you about something, but you know that it doesn't apply here, so you locally disable it, like also for no QA things and for linters and so on. I mean, you've seen things like that. And being able to have better control about warnings and deprecation warnings in Ansible would be really great. But then I think you mentioned that something will be happening soon, so.
Yeah, so I'll talk about that just a little bit. Yeah, okay. So one of the things that happened in 2.19 was we standardized a bunch of the internal error and warning controls in Ansible core. So like I mentioned yesterday that we had thrown away like hundreds of individually handcrafted error handling things that and just tried to standardize a bunch of that stuff on a small handful of things. And during that process, we started talking internally on the core team about this, about, hey, warning control sucks, right? We've had this problem, we've tried a bunch of different things over the years. People have wanted us to move to standard library logging things and use those for filtering, and we weren't real hot on that because it doesn't scale very well to other things. But one of the things that kind of came out of some of that discussion is that with this new error infrastructure and warning infrastructure that we have, it would be fairly trivial to come up with a way that every error message gets kind of and every error and warning and deprecation and everything else gets that we can assign IDs to them, and that collections would be able to do the same thing because they're already namespaced, right? So if we're able to do that within the next few releases, I think we played around with some little ways to do this and make it work, and I think there are a couple of us that are really passionate about this for all the same reasons, that it's just the deprecation warnings on, off, all, that's the only knob you have, and same thing with regular warnings. There's so much noise that's coming out, and we struggle with this on the core team. This kind of goes back to some of our previous discussions. We struggle with this because there's something that we know is an anti-pattern, but we are sensitive to the warning noise. We don't want to. 2.19 added a lot of warnings for things, and we knew that, and the warnings are noisy, and so it was really apparent that we need to do a better job, and we need to figure something out. I think we've got a rough pattern figured out for this that I hope we will be able to deliver in the next couple of releases that will give you that kind of control, but also that as a collection author, you can use exactly the same mechanism to issue your own warnings in a way that users can have very granular control to shut off things, whether it's in content or whether just config, whatever, but that you will have a lot more control to suppress noisy warnings that you don't care about so you're not missing out on other important warnings that come up, just because right now we only have those couple of knobs.
There's also, especially for collection contributors and maintainers, there's a problem that sometimes finding out about warnings is not so easy, because especially like most of the things happening in collections integration tests, and if you're using Ansible test integration to run your integration tests, then all warnings are turned off, so you don't see anything. If there's a warning, you can register a task result and check if there's a warning in there, but it won't be shown in the UI. So, and also there's no way to get a count of the warnings or error deprecation warnings or something that is possible to somehow figure out if suddenly something new turned up. And it's sometimes pretty problematic, because sometimes you only find out about deprecations because some user created an issue for you, and then you're suddenly like, oh yeah, there's a warning, but I've never seen it in the tests because, well, it's not shown there. And that's also not so great, and I hope that this will also get better.
Yeah, that reminds me, there's one other piece to this. So we, as part of this, as part of that error and warning standardization thing, one of the other things that the facility that got added in 2.19 is error as warning and warning as error. And so part of the design of that little framework that we were talking about, one of the things that you would also be able to do probably with this thing is turn any or all of a particular warning into an error, or vice versa. The error turning into a warning, we're probably not going to allow that for everything, but going the other way, that's been a long requested feature for Ansible Test, because I think Ansible Test, just for noise purposes, tends to turn off deprecation warnings, and that's not great, right? So the other piece of that is that I mentioned this in the Q&A, I think in the Monday's talk, but there is we now actually capture warnings and correlate them to tasks. Those are actually accessible. Like if you're writing integration tests and you need to test a warning, that's been a really painful experience in the past, right? Like if your content generates warnings and you want to actually be able to look at the warnings during your integration tests, that's really hard to do. You had to do runme.sh and grepping for things, and it's always been a mess. All of that stuff, the warnings are actually directly accessible in task results now. So warnings that were generated by your modules, your tasks, those things are directly accessible in your task result. If you register something, or if you're using the new register projection stuff, you can go dig around in there and see all of the warnings that came out of your tasks run. So that makes things for integration testing, warnings, much easier. But the other piece of that is, the ability to turn any or all or some particular warnings into an error, so that if you have something that you don't know about, that a new warning showed up and is in your testing stuff, that you should be able to turn that on and make it an error, so that that's your CI starts failing if new warnings start showing up because of a core release. That is one of the things we want to do. So, and Gunnar was giving me the time sign, so I think any closing remarks or.
Yeah, there's still a lot of more topics. There's still a lot of more topics we could talk about, but yeah, let's maybe do that at some point in the future, or maybe in the break or whatever.
You want to put that on the forum?
Actually, I put a long version of that already on the GIST, and I put a link into the discussion. I don't know if anyone, also on the Bullhorn, I don't know if anyone saw that or read it. It took some time to read it.
Copy it straight into the forum, and then it's easier to reply.
Yeah, it's pretty long, so I'd take a look. Maybe I'll make a short
64K per post, and you can do multiple replies, so it should be okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'll probably create a new post for that, or maybe I'll split it up into different posts to make it easier. Otherwise, it's a bit too chaotic, probably. But yeah, I'll do something about that. Cool. Well, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to more comments about some parts.
Yeah. So we'll take a quick break. We'll be back here at 11:55, so just 30 minutes. And then we're going to talk a bit about the Bullhorn. So how can we make it better for you? How can you contribute? What can we do to make our meetups better? I know we've got a few meetup organisers in here, and we're going to talk a bit about social media. How do we make folks, you folks to know about the stuff is great, we've got some new faces, but how do we reach everyone else? And a bit about the release calendar stuff. So yeah, grab a quick coffee, and and we'll start back in 30 minutes. Thanks, folks. That's really good. Hey folks, so if you...
Mute.
No. Hey folks, so we'll put this up after, so if you've not got the QR code for the Contributor Summit, scan that now quickly, or have it up at the end as well. And I think it's on the door. Cool. Well, thanks so much for the great discussion that we just had in the first half of that. Really good. Lots of good ideas. So I'm going to introduce Anwisha, who's part of the community engineering and partner engineering team, who's going to be talking about how we can better support our communities.
Thank you. So essentially, Gandalo and I, we are standing between you and lunch and walking tour. So we promise that we are going to be very, very quick. So first things first, we tried to make this agenda in a way so that we can have conversation about each of the important topics, like in our minds. So firstly, we tried to bucket them together. But here are some topics which we think it's important and we need to know your opinion about, but we did not know how to bucket them. So instead, we put it all together and bringing it up to you. So essentially, it is... essentially, we are going to discuss each of these topics. That is the agenda. And it is the agenda of the session. We are going to go down with all these topics like Bullhorn, meetups, social media and release calendars. And then we want your opinion. What do you want? What can be made better? This is a discussion ground, not a talk at any given point of time. So please stop us whenever you have a question. So the first of that topic is Bullhorn. So Bullhorn, how many of you are subscribed in Bullhorn? Okay, there are few, 3-4 hands which has not been raised. Therefore, I would actually recommend you. This is our newsletter. It goes on weekly, and please subscribe to Bullhorn. Now, essentially, previously Carol used to be the editor for Bullhorn. Now Sandra and I from the team are doing the Bullhorn releases. So Gandalo actually posted some ideas that how can we improve Bullhorn. Now, Gandalo, do you want to explain on that?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
So if we sort of step back a little bit before we talk about improving, to remind ourselves the purpose of the Bullhorn, right? It is a weekly newsletter for you folks and Red Hatters to share what's going on. It's designed to be quick, rapid feedback. It's designed to be easy. It is not a curated, polished thing. Typos accepted, right? Like we try and do quick, tidy up stuff, but like we just want it to get out there. It's all our quick. We link to forum posts. We let you know about new releases that are happening. The community lets yourselves know about new things that are going on. We've just done a forum post on. I've just got a forum post on the status.ansible.com, so I'll put that on. And I see we've already got a question. Brilliant.
Yes, is there some less frequent version of Bullhorn which only presents some higher level changes?
So the question was, well, you understand why there's a weekly edition. Is there something maybe monthly or quarterly that's sort of a summary of the important news? No, we don't have that, and I understand totally why you're asking for that. I think that's maybe we do a quarterly edition or something. And so in that, would you be looking for historical information rather than the forward-looking? So it's like, this is what's been achieved, or here's some notable updates you might have missed. What type of things would you like?
Maybe both. Just bigger changes, maybe past and upcoming breaking changes.
Yeah, so the feedback was that sort of highlight maybe over the past month or the past quarter, maybe what are some of the bigger changes, what is still relevant today. So obviously we wouldn't put in every collection update, but if there's bigger updates, so some major releases of collections or new collections that are maybe in, that feels useful. Show of hands, who would be interested in having sort of a quarterly digest? 2, 3, 3.5, 4, 5, 6, yeah, 10 of you maybe. Okay, cool. Yeah, no one's ever suggested that before, and I can totally see the value of that. Take a little bit of work to curate, but well, yeah, all the information's there. Great, that's great. Thank you. You started this off, so I mean, these are just some ideas we've got, and I can talk about them. But you know, who has contributed to the bullhorn? Okay, 10 or so maybe. For the folks that have not, do you think you've ever had anything that you could share or might be noteworthy for other people to read? You ever done something interesting or found an interesting blog? I'm not going to call you liars, but I do expect there to be some hands up there. Okay, that's fair enough then. So I think 90% of you subscribe to the bullhorn, which is brilliant. What articles or updates in there are you finding useful, and which are just not useful? Like, I'm quite happy for people to say these things aren't useful, and we can stop observing them. But, like, what type of bits are you finding useful? Do you, Daniel?
I think when there has been the announcements about new features in the core, when they're announced in the bullhorn, it's pretty important and they've been really useful. So that kind of content.
Yeah, so the comment was making the announcements clear about the bigger updates, such as the templating changes we talked about, or Python updates.
Yeah, that one. I think, yeah. I've done a couple of them, but we need to figure out. That needs to get on our core checklist for features at past some bar, acceptable.
And this now makes me think, because of the way the bullhorn works, you basically submit it and it'll go into that week's edition, and then it drops off the list. But now with the suggestion of the quarterly update type thing, maybe we need a sticky news item where it appears for a few weeks at a time. Because unless you happen to be reading that edition of the bullhorn and realising the template changes, I think for that we did put a banner up on the forum. But we've got to be careful on signal to noise. Would that be? Do we think that might be something useful, where for notable changes we sort of repeat the same information for a few weeks? Or are we getting into noise there rather than information?
Also, I think those discussion announcements, like invitations to take part, to
the open
give some
polls.
Feedback, I think it's useful.
The open polls and the discussions and all other stuff. Also, apart from all these conversations, there were some other ideas which we were thinking about. Our team has been a pretty big supporter of what is for the community should be by the community, and it is therefore handed over to the community. So what do you think will be a good idea? Do you think it would be a good idea if we can have some community editors to release Bullhorn, to work on Bullhorn? Okay, let's break the silence with show of hand. So what do you think? Do you think that anyone from the community right now over here would be interested in releasing, being the editor for Bullhorn and releasing Bullhorn?
Would any of you like to
Yes.
help out and become an editor? Say again?
Time.
Yep.
Okay.
How much time does it take usually? Every week, let's say, to edit it?
Initially, when you are starting, it takes long, like half a day. Generally, it's half day or less than that. Because, and before, if any one of you are interested, then only we'll try to automate the thing more. Because it's mostly automated, but we have to work on the automation so that it's not taking a lot of time. Okay, still we could not lure any people to actually edit Bullhorn. So fine, we can do with that. Also, there are some other things which, as the idea for quarterly release of big bullhorns have been generating. So do you think it would be a good idea if we can have two things? One, a section of blogs where like short blogs or short posts from people, not really like 4-liners, but rather like maybe a 10-line or a 5-line thing for that quarterly release of Bullhorn, one. And secondly, do you want to hear any voices? So it's like, sorry Felix, I'm picking on you, that ask anything to Felix. So for 3 months in a row, we are going to like have a section where you can ask Felix anything on a forum post, and then Felix can consolidate. Felix, Nitz, Gandalo, anyone can consolidate all those questions in a post for like 5 sentences or 10 sentences or whatever it is, a short post for a quarterly release of Bullhorn.
Dear Felix.
I think the community, like blogs and stuff, would be really good. Just to help with, if there's any like cool ideas someone's blogging about, something they're doing interesting with Ansible and Core, then yeah, I think that'd be really good to get that in.
Yeah, and just as a reminder for those, folks that don't have blog platforms, right? We have a social area on the Ansible forum, right? As long as it's on topic, use that. Go do like I'm not asking you for Sean Kavanagh. You've seen, is it Sean X86 or whatever his handle is? Type crazy Americanisms and stuff. But like, yeah, go share ideas. You're all doing really cool stuff. We'd love to hear about what you're doing. One of the main things we know is that at the moment you need a Matrix account to be able to post to the forum, and I know that's a real barrier to entry. Show of hands, who's on Matrix? Wow, okay, that's a lot more than I thought. How many of you are on any of the Ansible Matrix channels? That's almost everyone in the room. So you've got no excuses then for how to post, right? So you jump into the social channel, #social /ansible.com, and you do @newsbot tab and just write some little markdown. Okay. Very simple. I can do it. I'm a manager, right? So you folks are far more technically minded than me, so that'll be good. So for those that aren't a Matrix, or for those that are probably aware that it is a barrier for entry, any ideas how we can make it easier for folks to contribute? It's, yeah, you probably lost your voice. Yeah.
Given that you're using Discord for the forum, you can have a Discord to Matrix push, or you can use the email to Matrix. There is a ready-made open source project from B.1.014. I think it's Google or something like that. And that you send it an email, it will come in the Matrix channel. So you keep your Matrix channel as your single source of truth, and you automate everything from there, but you just have other entry points where people who do not have Matrix still can get it.
And it also send out, like subscribe, and it sends an
That's a very good idea.
That Synapse already does, so you need to check your configuration.
No, I'm just asking if it can do it.
I'm not sure, I think it's only incoming, but I don't remember.
Yeah, so the suggestion there was that we can keep Matrix as the source of truth, but since we're obviously using Discourse Ansible Forum, we could have maybe a tag or a way to either email in, and then that will get piped into the Matrix channel. Yeah, that's really easy. Everyone has email, I think, still. So yeah, I like that. And obviously, one of the things we really try to do is to force people, strongly encourage people onto the Ansible forum, which is why we've got QR codes and bits. But yeah, that's a good idea. Andrew.
How about maybe excluding Matrix from the loop entirely, and instead to use forum?
Yeah, I mean, when we set this stuff up, if you remember the timeline from yesterday, like the forum wasn't a thing when we started this, so it was IRC and then Matrix. I mean, one of the nice things about the forum is that's where the discussion is, right? So it keeps people on track. Bigger change, but I think there's probably some bits there to think about, yeah.
Maybe it could be something like on the event calendar, there's like an event for that specific weekly release or quarterly edition of the Bullhorn, and then then folks could reply to that event. And that would be those would be the bits of content that would be included in that edition.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. And that's quite nice because the forum's marked down, so it's easy to just copy and paste or
automate.
Yeah, nice.
Then we can actually go to the next topic, I think.
Yeah. Any other content folks would like to see in the bullhorn? Like, do you think we've got the right amount of information on the collection releases? I could automate it, but then you'd be drinking from the fire hose, right? Because there's got, I don't know, however many thousands of collections, and I'm guessing you don't want to know about every time someone fixes a typo in a bit of docs, but it's like, do you only want to know when there's major updates, major Semver updates to collections? Like, any thoughts on... I've seen you nodding, so I'm going to pick on you, sir, in the front row.
Yes, I like when you do the major updates. I think every update, as I said, does not make sense, but I had the feeling, at least in the past year, that you put the right amount of updates.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
most of them is not interesting for me, but sometimes there's exactly that one I'm interested in, and that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. That now makes me think maybe we should publicise, because GitHub notifications have got a lot better over the past few years, and I think now you can subscribe to a repo and only receive release notifications. So maybe that's something we can sort of publicise, that you make a note of that then. Yeah. Any other thoughts about what other content would be useful? Any updates? Cool. Okay. So, meetups. It's one of the reasons we're all here, because we, even though we're geeks, we occasionally like to be social, and we have social batteries, and I know we're on day 3 and it's lunch soon, so I should stop rambling and get to the point of now. Yeah, meetups. The great way, show of hands, who has been to an Ansible meetup? It's about half, maybe a little bit more. Okay, cool. Who has presented or at an Ansible meetup? Good show of hands, good show of hands. Cool. And my favourite people in the room, who has helped organise an Ansible meetup. These folks deserve a round of applause, actually, before we... So it's organising these things, and this is... Well, I won't embarrass you, but Toshan's one of the organisers. Everybody's using the whole hair this week. That's one of the main folks. So yeah, this takes a lot of effort, right? And we want to make it easier. And I think there's... Ton and I were chatting earlier, it's like, well, we can get the venues and stuff, but I think one of the problems I think people are facing, and I'm the maintainer, co-host of the London meetup, we're trying to find speakers. And we want this stuff to be generally in person, because, it's to have a slice of pizza and have a little chat. It's all the hallway conversations that will happen after this. So how can we make that easier? Do we want to be thinking about like speaker directories of people that are around? I'm obviously being careful with location stuff. Like, we're not going to track people's location, but sorry, I should put the map up. So these are the 37 cities. Well, actually, small. We've got 37 meetup groups, but some of the groups, like India, I think we've actually got 11 groups under there, and Ireland we've got sort of 3 or 4. But that's roughly what we look like at the moment. So do we think having some way of identifying people opting in, trying to be careful, being obviously careful about people's information, to say, oh, I'm in this area, if there is something happening at some point, I'd like to know and would be interested, like maybe we can, I don't know how we publicise this, but do some different ways.
So essentially there are 2 things which happened last year. So we are now on Meetup Pro. And also we have a new meetup strategy. Have you heard of the new meetup strategy? Okay, so we do have Ansible community meetup repo. If you go there in the docs, you will be able to find the new meetup strategy, which has been published in forum, and it was open for poll. If you want anything to be changed over there, send a pull request. We would love to have a discussion over it. So that is one thing. Also, we do have Ansible meetup toolkit. It has been developed like 3 years ago. It is and it is being used by many other different communities, such Python, Fedora. People are using it. So I would really strongly encourage the people who are organizing meetups or any event, you will find all the resources over there. Now there is one sort of a resource which would be like, I'm a long time meetup organizer. So there are 3 essential things which a meetup organizer faces problem with. A, finding speaker, B, finding venue, and 3, finding sponsors. For the first, like for all these things, do you think that if we have a repo in that particular place, in that these are the interested speakers, where the interested speakers can register themselves, say that I am expert in this category of topics in and around Ansible, and I want to give a I'll be available giving a meetup on presentation on the following topics in the following locations. That is one thing. Then same with the speaker and the venue itself. What do you all think about it? And secondly, do you think that the online meetup, we had our first online meetup, and do you think that if we have more online meetups, will that be online and in person, like or a hybrid kind of a style? Do you think that would be more useful? Yes.
The online meetup, I've been following that one, and I thought that was more of a one-way traffic, and I thought it would be more a dual thing, bi-directional, and that was one of the things that disappointed me a little, because I thought, well, maybe discussion with other people or whatever. But that was my opinion.
Yeah. We did a meetup. I think it was the 2nd of October. And we used
early October,
we used the new Red Hat platform to do that, and it was one way, so it was very much a webinar, I guess.
Yeah.
There was text-based chat, and we were paying attention to that and doing Q&A, but it didn't feel like a community event, right? And that's something why I set that up. One of the problems we had is we need a platform where we have moderation when we go to that large an event. But I don't think the tool we picked was the right one. I think we need some way of doing two-way audio with some moderation control, and maybe it's Jitsi or
online. That will be hard.
Yeah.
I think they can actually accommodate that in the Red Hat platform. You just may have to bridge through something like Jitsi or whatever, where you have just kind of a blessed Jitsi something where you can give someone permissions that way, and then that becomes the presenter. Like when we want to throw it to
you can probably also do it with Big Blue Button. That's more focused for education, and you can moderate stuff there.
Okay. I have not heard of that, so yeah, maybe we'll have a look at that.
Yeah, Big Blue Button works very well for that.
Even like Zoom webinar, you can still give anyone in the thing permissions. I don't know if the other one, if the Red Hat, the one where that's using did that or not.
Cool. Yeah, that's good. So back on the speaker side. So Tom, what do you think? Do you think like a speakers directory? Do you think that could work?
Yeah, that could work. But one of the things that you need, and one of the things that you always run into, what is the level of expertise that you want to hand out to the attendees? Maybe because we are now 14 years into Ansible.
Yes.
Something like that. Almost exactly 14 years into Ansible. Yeah. The problem is there are still beginners out there, but if we do a beginner's talk about Ansible, a lot of people, I've been doing this for 10 years now, so I don't go there, but that's a bit of a mix-up.
Like the set of the expectation.
Yeah. Are we going to do a deep dive into how to build an Ansible module, or an introduction in how to write a playbook?
Yeah, I mean, for the London meetup at least, I get consistently sort of 50% self-describers new to Ansible, which has been interesting. But obviously London is a big place we get people commuting in because it's the capital, right? So I think generally I try and have a mix of some introduction and then, it might be some quite complicated or convoluted thing. because it shows the breadth of the tooling.
Yeah, but if you have a speaker, you need to know.
Oh yes,
what
Yes.
level he is on.
Yeah.
Can he do a very deep dive into Ansible modules, or is he just also a beginner who is happy to share it?
Yeah.
Well, just gain knowledge, which can be good.
Yeah. Is anyone involved in any other communities where they maybe done something similar, or got like a speaker directory or volunteer type thing?
I'm not involved, but I had an addition to the thing. There's also, I personally like just having direct communication there. Maybe if a meetup is 2 days, then announce the first day is a beginner day, second day is an expert day, and have beginner talks and discussion rounds on the first day, and more expert oriented on the second day, so then people can decide which one wants to attend.
But organizing a 2-day meetup is almost impossible.
Yeah,
because you have to have a venue with sponsors and everything.
Yeah, just to set context, these are generally sort of 2-3 hour events.
For example, if there's a quarterly meetup phase, and then have each second one an expert one.
Oh, interesting. You're talking about maybe more of the global online event.
It could be the same.
Yeah. Okay.
Could be the same. Yeah. Just name it expert or beginner.
Maybe it could help, like, when folks are signing up for the meetup, if they're comfortable, could put like what their, how long they've been using Ansible, which could help organisers with, what kind of talks they need, like the level of talks, like whether it needs to be really deeply technical, or whether there's a lot, or if there's a lot of new folks coming to that meetup, then it can help gauge what talks they need.
Yeah. So the suggestion there, and I think I've got this set, but it might not be working properly. I think now when you join one of our Ansible meetup groups, or maybe you register to attend an event, it will ask a couple of questions. And the suggestion was maybe part of that is like, what's your proficiency level? Are you?
Yeah, but I guess you have to have the talks beforehand, right?
Yeah. But yeah, and there's a comment there as well. You probably need to have the talks lined up before you announce the date. But I guess it still gives you a feel of sort of who's around.
Couldn't the speaker directory be something that lives on the forum in a shared document or something like that?
I mean, you said the forum, so you made me smile. So yeah, I think somewhere in there it will be, yeah.
Because we have the same problem within our company at the moment, that we do a lot of community events, but from like a lot of different technologies, finding speakers is hard.
So what's your approach been? Have you found anything that's worked so far?
The thing is, the easiest thing is often people already have some kind of presentation, so of course you don't necessarily have to do a call for papers on every meetup. So some people can just put in, I can speak about those 4 topics, I have demos, I have presentations, call me up, I show up, and I show the demo to the meetup group.
So you made me think of something interesting. So
I speak at multiple events. Every time when I have a call for speakers, so I decide which of I will use at this event. So each event has its own agenda, and we have to make a talk suitable for the audience, not just go and
yeah. So the comment there was we often when there's a call for papers, and maybe this applies to like large conferences like this, right? There might be some themes or tracks, and then you have to tailor. One thing you made me realise though when you said, well, often someone will have a presentation already ready. Can we work as a community to build some presentations with that, and then have them as with some detailed speaker notes? And maybe this is more for some of the introduction, or maybe some of the intermediate things to sort of build up a library, a bank of content.
I was working on that in the toolkit.
When we present trainings to our customers or also internally, we have everything in the mono repo. So there's like presentation slides that get rendered, and then also the demo. So all the code is in one repository. And of course, you could collaborate on this.
So, what's people's thought? Like I've got some old slides we could update them in HTML, so they work well in GitHub, so you can review the changes. Like, would people feel confident presenting some slides that you hadn't written?
It depends on what's on them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, devil's in the detail. But
if there's only a cat, that would be a problem, I guess.
Yeah, 2 cats is fine.
Yeah, it depends. I'm more of a dog,
okay.
ducking away.
Okay. Do you think that it, like, I think that if we have this, all the presentations in one place, do you think that would be a nice idea if, like, all 2026 config management camp presentations on Ansible, the slides, which we already publish, is at one place, so that the other meetup organizers, they can go to the repo and find out that what were being spoken. So, like, do you think it would be a good idea? Okay. Yes.
I think that if the goal is to make those slides available for someone else to present, that means that they have to be not PDF, because the new speaker will have to make some changes, and then here the problem starts, because Gunnar maybe has done them in HTML, I've done them in LaTeX, someone else done them in Lucasite or something else, which means that, or PowerPoint or whatever. And that's where the whole issue starts.
Yes, that, like, I was trying to build something, but I was not being able to be very confident about which format to pick. So that is one problem. Another problem was there were many people who were uploading stuff without having any license. So if you do not have a license on your slides, it is not essentially, we will not be able to, someone else will not be able to use it. Also so when we were discussing about the selecting the speakers for the meetups, we have to take a step back and understand this. We are talking about a global scenario. There are places in the world where we have a concentration of experts, and there are places in the world where we have both, the mix of new and beginner. So this is just from my own experience with other organizing meetups in the other domains as well, that generally what I try to do is when I talk to the speakers, essentially I just pick a theme, whether it's beginner or it's intermediate or it's advanced, and then I choose speaker based on that theme.
That's good.
Yes.
So here's one I made earlier. In this case, I think this is probably about 5 or 6 years ago. So these are some slides that I've got online. I think it's Reveal.js. I mean, this is some old framework, maybe something different, but it's just HTML. So you can see here, I've got this, and then the actual source code for it. Very big. It's just some very basic HTML with a heading and then some list elements. And then I think it was, I think Shaps was saying, like, we need to make sure that it can't be PDF because everyone's going to want to tweet this. It's going to need to be, sorry, maybe this will get updated over time. And like there have been some updates in this, and this is a nice little framework. If I can remember, I think you compress S, you can get speaker notes if I put any in, and you can press escape and you can get like a whole navigation. So maybe this is something we could have a look with, and I'd happily go and spend the time to update these slides and add some detailed notes in. I mean, if we had a repo with some of these things in, might that help? I mean, you still need someone to stand up and present, but you're not having to go through the fatigue of creating a presentation every time. And the other thing, obviously, is then they become a library of resources.
Yes.
So, you know, they're self-service if we get them sort of some good notes in.
Could be as a template, used as a template.
Yeah, we can put some template in. Maybe look at some automation. You know, maybe we can.
I think we have a meetup toolkit. In the meetup toolkit, we do have some templates.
I think we've got some bits like that.
Yes, we do have some templates in the meetup toolkit itself.
I will happily go and sit down with my friend Claude AI and take some PowerPoint or PDFs and convert them into this, because it's a standard format, right? So I'll happily go and do all the legwork if people are happy to share some of their slides. Do we think this is a useful thing, or do we think this is just not solving the fundamental problem that we need some different people? Or maybe this makes it easier for anyone to do an introduction talk, or not anyone, but.
I think even if you just have the PDFs initially, it'll be quick. You can copy paste text out of it and then paste it in something like this
Yes.
for the next time someone needs it. But
Yeah, or in your own or in your own format.
yeah, but then you
Yeah.
don't necessarily need to spend the time now to convert all the existing stuff.
I mean, I'm going to pick on you again. Like, would you have some presentations that you'd be happy to share? Tom?
Yeah, they're all running on speaker deck.
Okay.
Yeah, same for JP, I guess.
Yeah, JP has the presentation on speaker deck, I think. Or at least I think he would be happy to share them.
I mean, because this is our community, right? We know that
Yeah.
together we can all achieve more. Daniel, you were to say
I
something?
was just looking on the Meetup Toolkit docs at the moment. I can find there's email templates and social media templates, but I guess if depending on the, what's decided from the community about like what format for these templates, what format that is, maybe they could be like that could be uploaded there and easily accessible.
Yeah, so the comment was Daniel just had a look at the Meetup Toolkit, and I do hope everyone has a chance to look at that. So we've got some email templates, like how to go and contact, ask for response and stuff. But I don't think we have some slide deck bits. And this is on optional, right? Like if you've got presents, do what's easier for you. Right? We're trying to be the force multiplier to try and make it easier for some other folks. But so cool. Sounds like we can do something there. Cool. So one of the other bits we talked about, how for those of you on the are subscribed to Meetup, which I guess is most of you, have you noticed there's a bit of spam on there? Show of hands. Interesting. How many people have email notifications turned on for meetup.com? That's why you're not seeing the spam.
Mm.
Do you get notified when? I know there's not been a huge amount of events, but how do you get notified when there's events, or are you looking at the bullhorn, or happening to? Okay.
I can say them because of the spam.
Yes. Yeah. So one Meetup, like any platform, gets abused, right? And there's a lot of spam. Once you report spam, Meetup are pretty good, and it gets taken down generally within no number of minutes. But I think the problem we're seeing, and we've seen it here, is because there's been so much spam, people just unsubscribe. So when we put announcements on, they're not getting to you. So one thing we're sort of thinking, and because all these meetups are basically there's individual admin and then there's a super admin over the top, which me and Leo and Risha, we can go and disable all the discussions in all of those and then direct people to the forum. Maybe we can have a thread per city or an area per. We can do whatever level of granularity, and maybe this feeds into the speakers thing. Because if we have a topic or a subcategory per city, so for our 37 groups, that's then a place easily for people to go, I'm available to do a talk in this area. So maybe that's an easier thing rather than building some huge database. I realise it's getting towards lunchtime. Anything else you wanted to go from the
just one last thing is it is also like there are few meetup organizers over here. We meetup organizers do a good job in organizing the meetup. We do not do generally we tend to avoid the post meetup stuff. It is very important for your own recognition as well as the recognition of the speakers and the attendees. After your meetup is done, your event is done, please post something in the forum saying that this meetup has been done or this meetup has taken place, we have organized this, these many topics were there, so that it becomes a repository of and history of your achievement as well as the speakers, what happened in the meetup, so that everyone can know about it. So yeah, so that is the last and the clear ending point. And next, we want to talk about something which we do a very bad job of, which is social media. So how can we improve, and what are the places especially we do have presence in some of we are there in Mastodon, we are there in LinkedIn, Reddit, but we do not do a good job of it. How can we do it, and what are the changes you want us to be doing? Where can we start? So yes, ideas please, because we do not know, and we yes.
Maybe on, is it Mastodon?
Mastodon,
Yeah,
yes.
Mastodon, sorry. You could like, I know we have like the bullhorn, the weekly bullhorn. Maybe just posting about that, saying that look, here's the new bullhorn. Maybe it'll then drive folks to more to the forum to check out the bullhorn as well. Maybe they're not on the forum already. I don't know, just an idea.
So essentially right now our voice is mostly on Reddit and Mastodon. We do post about that whenever there's a bullhorn release, it is a part of the process that we have to go and post it in the Mastodon.
Oh, okay.
Also we like what I was doing in the back, that I was actually posting about whatever it is happening in over here. But let's take a step back and let's think that there are two things which needs to be done. We need to promote and market and inform inside the Ansible bubble, and there is another world like outside the Ansible bubble. So if we segregate both those things, which are the platforms you would prefer? LinkedIn, and how that can be done efficiently. So yes.
Sorry, the question is, whom do you want to reach? They want to reach developers, they want to reach normal users, they want to reach business managers, and so on. So these are all different categories and different social media platforms. So
there is no one answer.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't know. To search, okay, you can search for developers on LinkedIn, so you'll find them, but they are less active there as managers. And most of the people don't read technical information from LinkedIn.
So do you want me to repeat the question?
Yeah, so it's a really good question there. So we're saying about reaching people, or which people, right? So you're saying like collection maintainers, users, sysadmins, DevOps managers. Yeah, I guess it's sort of a mix of those. I'd say for the bullhorn and the meetups, probably more of the people using or contributing to Ansible. But I know occasionally at the meetups I'll get like some senior manager that's heard of Ansible, or maybe someone in his team their team's using it, or whatever. But I say generally towards the practitioner side.
Where are you, like you?
Yeah, where do you folks look for news?
So I'm active on LinkedIn, but because I have an audience there. But for example, I would probably search more on Reddit if I need to get more users who want to automate something. So and tell them, so here's Ansible.
Yeah, so r/Ansible is a pretty active subreddit. I think from memory we've got about 40,000 members or something on those, and there's generally a decent bit of activity.
Probably the best bang for the buck, because anything else is going to be like either really narrow or really.
Yeah, like occasionally something will get cross-posted to r/Red Hat, but that's generally about sort of RHEL or the company as a whole. And I guess now I'm thinking about it when I'm saying cross-posting, it can't just be hey, we've done a new release of this thing. Like there needs to be the information now. If we're forcing people to click, then we're probably failed already. Anyone good at social media? Since we've got one expert in the room, because I would love some help with this stuff. Like, even if it's just like there's not necessarily even helping, but like, what are good strategies for tagging, or how do you track this stuff to make sure it's working? Like, are there any metrics?
I think every social media platform has metrics. LinkedIn, you can just turn on creator mode and go to your metrics, how many engagements you have, how many people read your article.
Okay.
So yeah, the answer was most platforms are
platform
magic.
dependent.
So the final topic is the release calendar. It is somehow what consoling to see that it is not only like us who are not really doing a good job or doesn't think that we are experts. So the room full of people who are not experts in social media. So nice. So a release calendar. So last to last year we have made the release automated and open to the community now. We have a release managers working group where there are 5-6 people in the group. I think 4 people who are active. I think Felix, 4 people. Yes, 4 of us like who are actually doing the releases. I am the only Red Hatter, and now last year we got a new release manager who is Trey. Now we started a new initiative for release managers mentorship program, but there's a problem which we realized in that program. Releasing Ansible is it needs a lot of technical depth and expertise, so it is not a beginner friendly program. Second, there are many ancillary and preconceived concepts which you need to know to be a release manager. Secondly, you need to have the trust from the community as well as the fellow release managers. So it was in that mentorship program where there were some people who were doing a lot of progress, there were some people who were struggling. So but we hope that we'll have some new people joining the group so that we are not stuck with only 4 people. For that, a problem which we face, because it's not a problem, but this is the working of the group now. We are pretty organic. Essentially, in the morning of the release, someone will come and say, or a day before, someone will come and say that, hey, we have a release. Mostly it is Felix who's going to say that, hey, we have a release tomorrow. And then I'll come and I'll see that if someone is available, or I'll do the release. So those kind of conversation keeps happening. But after the release mentorship program has been introduced, we saw that it would be nice that if we can plan the releases a bit better, and also if we can give recognition to the release managers. So, and Felix had some ideas about it. I was thinking about having it in the forum itself, in the event calendar, or having a special release calendar. And Felix had some ideas. So about having it in a wiki, and there's a discussion going on, forum discussion going on about this. So Felix, do you want to elaborate the idea, and what should be the next step?
I'm not sure which idea exactly you mean. Or which
the
idea?
wikis you talked about for the release calendar, GitHub issues and wikis, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure anymore about that, but I mean, one problem, or I don't understand the actually looking into your direction.
Felix wanted some help for both of them.
Oh yeah. One thing, I mean, would be great to have a better schedule or something, but one thing is that these releases depend mostly on the Ansible core releases. And
yes.
Hi Matt.
Yes.
Long time. And it's kind of, these usually happen quite regularly. Yeah, it's okay. Every 4 weeks, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes they get moved for random reasons, or well, I guess they're not random, but I mean, basically just see that the release happened at some point, and then it's like we know we have to do a release as well. But sometimes we don't really know when exactly this will happen, and sometimes they're also moved. Or some releases are skipped. Like at the end of the year, if there would have been one every 4 weeks, there would have been one on like December 30th or 31st or something. We did actually an Ansible release then, but there wasn't an Ansible core release. And the next one didn't happen like 4 weeks after that, but 5 weeks after that. I'm no longer sure whether it was actually announced for that specific date or not. But yeah, these things are, I mean, it's a bit hard to have a schedule if you're depending on something which doesn't have a public schedule. So it would be a lot easier to have such a calendar if there's also a release calendar for Ansible Core, or if there's also some communication mechanism where Core tells us earlier when things are likely getting moved. I mean, sometimes the problem is that like CI breaks down or something, then basically the release has to wait by a couple of days because of the technical problems. Or like if Galaxy dies, like we cannot make a new Ansible community package release because it tries to download the collections from Ansible, from Galaxy. So these things, of course, they happen. There's not much you can do about it. But for other things, it's, yeah. I think that was the main thing I remember from writing, but besides that, I mean, maybe one thing to add is that right now most of the people who are doing the releases, they are not working at Red Hat. They don't do Ansible as a living, or they are not getting paid for anything. So they sometimes have time or they have not time, and sometimes they don't really know. I don't know 4 weeks in advance whether I will have time at that evening. Maybe something personal came in, maybe not. I mean, during day I'm at work, I won't do the release. I'll only do it in the evening when I'm back at home. So like for me, having a fixed schedule sounds also a bit more complicated. That's another aspect, but yeah. I mean, having a schedule I think would be great. I mean, I'm not sure how many of you are using the Ansible community package instead of Ansible Core plus collections. Many. So yeah, I think it would be great for everyone to have more public schedule for that.
Do you folks care when it's released, or as long as it's released frequently?
On the slide it says, as users, what do you need? What a user needs is that it doesn't break anything. That's the most important thing. If I upgrade, my playbook shouldn't break. So if there are breaking changes in there, people say, yeah, well, you have to read the change log. Nobody does that. At least the normal user, we are not normal users, but the normal users don't read change log. They don't care. They just download, they want to run it, and if it breaks, it breaks. Yeah. And then they're pissed off. Really pissed off. So that's the most important thing. Don't
strict following of Semper. Yeah, strict following of Semper.
Yeah.
For the package and every collection inside.
Dependent on that, the collections we are including actually do stick to Semper. I mean, sometimes we notice that they don't when they document it in the changelog, like there's suddenly a breaking change in a minor release, which is documented as a breaking release, and we basically kick that release out, and well, it sometimes takes us a long time to make a release because we are figuring out that some collection screws things up. But I mean, we don't check everything. We don't have time to do that, or resources. So there's a bit of a, well.
Yeah, but my remark is not only for community general, but in general.
Yeah, I mean also in general.
Or whatever module you're using or whatever collection you're using. If things break, people are really mad about it. And if that happens too much, or if they need to change a lot of their code, if that happens too much, people will look for another tool.
Yeah, but how many users just run whatever's in their distro, like in Operatorium, and just run the antique version that's in there?
Or somebody has told them pip install minus upgrade, and they do it on a regular basis. There are a lot of them that do that.
Yeah, but yeah, that's definitely true. But I'm not really sure what we can do about it, except hoping that the collections stick to somewhere, and if we figure out they don't, like try to either get them to do it or remove them from the whole thing. That's, at least from the side of the release managers, that's probably the only thing we can do, because we don't control these collections. And we also don't have time to go through all the changes in the collections to verify that they are not breaking.
Yes.
Which is...
Yeah, that would be a hell of a job.
Yep.
That would take 4 weeks, and then you have to restart again.
Yeah, exactly. If someone wants to pay someone for that, but I won't do the job, even if you pay me. There are more fun things in life.
Good luck.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was thinking that will it solve the problem? Like I'm asking Matt, and the problem of code releasing, and then the next day we do the release. Generally, code releases on Monday, and usually Monday.
If nothing goes wrong.
Yes, if nothing goes wrong. There is another problem because most of the release managers, we are in Europe. We are based in Europe, and Civil comes at night and he does the release. So when we are going to bed,
It's also morning from our point.
Yes.
Depends on who's doing, like,
yes,
there's
who is
three of
doing
us, so, yeah.
essentially. So do you think that it would be a good idea if we skip one day in between and then do the release on the next?
Or I was going to suggest a week because, like, we, most of the time we're usually doing a release by Monday afternoon, like
Yes.
Pacific time. But yeah, it just depends. If CI is broken or something, like it might be the next day. And if we hit something else that's like,
Yes.
we've had the last couple of things we've had like either CVE fixes or something else where it's like, okay, we're not releasing until this is in.
Yes.
And then it's just problem. We release it a week late. Like every day it's like, oh, it should be today. No. So. But I think if you change that to a week, or at least from the things that are like where you're relying on core release schedule, look how often we're late by a week. It's not very often.
It's not very often.
It's usually a day or two.
It's not very often.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's also one question of what users expect. I mean, of course we can always like make it a week later, but that means that if you're using the package, you have to wait like 1 week for updates to arrive.
I think that's only a problem if there's a CVE.
Usually.
Yeah, and also there's a different thing because we have we don't pin a strict version of Ansible core, but just a range of Ansible core versions.
Yes.
Then basically, if you install the Ansible package like 1 day after core release, you get the new core version, but you won't get new collections because you only get them 1 week later, which is also a bit kind of strange. I mean, I don't think there's a perfect solution anyway.
I mean, it's a community release, right? From my point, there's no expectation that anyone, especially those folks that are not paid by Red Hat, to be working at a certain point to get a release out, right? It's reasonable efforts when you have time. I don't like the phrase best efforts for this, I think, is the wrong term.
Yeah. From my point of view, the current system works good enough. I never complained about it, so, I mean, are users complaining about it, or you as a user, is there something you would like to change or improve? I don't know.
Maybe it's a non-issue for those folks outside.
Yeah, I really don't know.
I don't think anyone is jumping on the next week on the latest release the day after it's been released. Right? And there's always a bit of a buffer between.
And if you are, you can always install core yourself, like right when it comes out. If you really want those bleeding edge bits, like
realistically, like for my side, I'd be doing like an upgrade every 2-3 months maybe. It's not gonna happen like every day, right?
Yeah. Actually, if we move the release or if we separate the core and the package release a bit more, it might also make it more complex for distribution packages.
Yes.
Who would like to keep the package together, or I don't know. Maybe it's also not an issue, but I'm not one, so I don't know.
Do we have any distro packagers in the room for this?
No. Okay, then we don't know.
Cool, okay, so that was a good discussion. So we'll always be very mindful of Semver, and we've done a reasonable job of kicking collections out that don't adhere to that, because it just breaks the social contract, dynamical contract. Cool. So we're about done for this bit, and then we have a question about what folks would like to do this afternoon. So for those of you who are on the forum, which is obviously all of you, and paying attention, which is definitely all of you, Donna put the idea of actually doing a bit of a social thing this afternoon. I know that after 3 days or 17 days, if you've been doing the pre-FOSDEM stuff, you probably just about had enough of sitting around and not seeing too many clouds in the sky. So there is the idea that we can meet up in the centre again and go for a little gentle stroll. It's all nice and flat, go whatever pace you want, and we'll Don's planned out a very gentle little walk around. So if that is of interest to you, and we're thinking maybe we'll start that about 2:30, 3 o'clock. Sorry, about 3:30. Show of hands.
Maybe, depending
Cool.
on my colleagues.
Yeah, and I'll ask the opposite question because and this isn't coming through sarcastically if it is, it's just a British English coming through. Who would like to stay in here and do more Ansible things? And I'm not taking offence by the lack of hands or Dag's hand there, right? I am very much aware that one of the things we talked about last year after the contributor summit is like by the afternoon, like the brain has gone, right? So if you'd like to join us, we're going to meet at St Michael's Bridge, which is here, near the main church. We're going to meet literally on the bridge at 3:30, 15:30. Show of hands, who's probably going to meet me on the bridge? Cool. Yeah, excellent. Cool. Yeah, you know, it's a social thing. No, don't stress if you want to have enough afterwards. But I mean, you won't have a way to contact me if you're not there. But it's just a chance for us to go and chat a little bit more and stretch the legs and stuff. So that's great. Really, really appreciate everyone making the time for this. I had a look and there's already 3 people have responded to the forum post about status.Ansible.com proposal that I just quickly typed up, which is awesome. So, let me put the QR code back on. Yeah, so please, the only thing I'm really going to ask from you is go make sure you scan that QR code, hopefully it works on the back, and you've got the forum badge. As long as you've got one of the forum badges from the past 2 days, I will then have the ability to send you a one-time, well, assuming don't screw up, a one-time message just via the forum to say, hey, the slides are online, please let us know some feedback, right? These are community events, like our feedback's really important, so I'm here with 2 hats, right? I'm obviously here primarily as part of the Ansible engineering, but along with some of the other folks in this room, I'm part of the co-hosts for the Config Management Camp. So like your feedback is really important. We're on our 12th year, I think, or 12th event, or at least
something like that.
So this is a community, so like we thrive on the feedback, good, bad, and ugly, right? So I really, really appreciate your time. I'll be going down to get some lunch, and I'll hope to see you down there shortly. But thank you very much, folks, for all your time.